Dear listeners, thank you for your incredible support in helping our channel grow. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers, so please support us by subscribing and helping us reach this milestone. Now let's start the story. Present, Jack, Private Airport, Washington, D.C. I'm glad as hell I saw Samantha's news report on the bus hijacking. I called up the control room, then went down and viewed the report one more time, stopping it at several places just to make sure. Yes, sirree. The battle at the bus had Ben's fingerprints all over it. While we waited at the airport for Liz's flight, I decided to give Samantha a call and see if any private close-ups of the dead scumsuckers were available, just to make sure. Her phone rings, then I hear, "This is Samantha Stevens." I begin my request. "Samantha, this is Jack. We are waiting for Liz's flight, and I was wondering if you could get some private close-ups of the bodies." She does the typical reporter bullshit and answers my question with a question. "Sure, Jack, but can you please tell me why?" I answer, "Well, I'm not certain of this, but I think your mystery gunman might possibly be Ben. She gets very excited and promises, "Jack, not only will I get you the pictures, we also have the bandage which was on his wound. I will make sure we overnight it to you, and you can have it analyzed for fingerprints and DNA. I felt a little responsible since I was with him right before he left." I smile and try to lessen her guilt. "Samantha, it's not your fault. The bandage is great news, and it will fill in some of the blanks. Keep up the good work." As I hang up the phone, I look toward Masha and say, "I think we might have just found Yin's fiancé, Ben." Masha answers, "Jack, that would be such very good news. I know she is acting crazy because he is gone. You men do not understand the torture you put us through when you leave us. And I remember how perfect they were for each other when we met in Hawaii. I especially remember how happy they were. Just as Ben was responsible for getting us together in Moscow, we both need to help them to get back together." She looks at her watch and asks, "Shouldn't the flight have arrived by now?" I glance at my watch. The flight is very late, and I wonder what the hell is going on. I know Liz, and she would certainly call me if her flight was delayed or diverted. I start on a really bad feeling as an official vehicle drives up. I watch as two suits get out and walk to where we are standing. One man asks, "Are you waiting for Elizabeth Morgan's flight?" I reply, "Yes, we are." "Now, who are you?" I also wonder what the hell Liz did or brought back this time that's brought out the suits. Present, Yints, Yellow Cab, 423, Washington, D.C. I'm a little upset about getting thrown out of Gunny's again, and decide the old fart doesn't have a sense of humor. Oh yeah, so we made a little mess out of his bar with our taser contest. But it's not like last time when a bunch of tables and chairs got busted. I wave a big handful of bills under Meg's nose and announce, "Ah, the sweet smell of success." Winning bets from those Marines was like taking candy from a baby. Megs pleads, "Quick, stop the cab, I'm going to be sick." I giggle because if there's one way to get a cabbie to stop, it's the threat to throw up in his cab. He flies to the side of the street and stops. Megs bails out with Jim right behind her and starts puking her guts out. Matt looks at me and offers, "I guess she can't hold her liquor." I watch Jim helping her, secretly glad it wasn't me, and state, "She used to do pretty good, but has been sort of a goody two-shoes until tonight." Matt laughs, "Now that's the pot calling the kettle black. You are the biggest goody two-shoes I've ever known. I bet you never got in trouble when you were younger." I can see that Megs and Jim are going to be a while, and so I take up the challenge. "I'll take that bet, Matt Combs. Let me tell you about the time when I was 14 and killed Kin on Christmas Day." I almost laugh as I watch Matt's "I get big as saucers." Yint's story about killing Kin. Well, another Christmas was over. I sat on the floor yet one more year surrounded by yucky dresses which I would never wear. If I wore these, I'd look like a miniature mom, not a cool and hip 14-year-old girl. I looked at the dresses and began to plan on how and when they would each reach their untimely demise. That yucky yellow sun salutation dress would be perfect for a leaky ballpoint pen. Even all the practice I'd given Mom through the years removing stains wouldn't save that yellow banana. Now the wretched red rosy predictions dress could be made a little cute and might just be wearable, but something was going to have to happen to its hem, so it would lose about half its length. I wondered if Daddy's power saw would work as scissors. The gross green acoustic solo dress was a total waste, but I could save some of the material for my ghillie suit. I wondered if Mom would believe it got sucked into the garbage disposal while I was rinsing it out in the kitchen sink. And finally the putrid pink, raised the bar fake ballet dress. If I wore that I would look like Pepto-Dismal. OMG, when would Mom ever get over this pink and ballet thing of hers? It must be totally terminated with extreme prejudice. Nothing short of a 4-alarm fire would suffice. Yes, I was disappointed again this year. I really wanted a useful gift, like a new pellet rifle to replace my dead Daisy Red Ryder lever-action BB gun. I sniffed as I remembered the sad day early in December when I cocked the rifle and heard the nasty snapping sound. Then it wouldn't fire anymore. Daddy looked at it and told me I had fired it so much I'd broken the mainspring and it just wasn't worth fixing. But I still tried my best to save him. I worked on him almost my whole Christmas vacation. I carefully took him apart, making sure to draw pictures of where each part went until I finally got to the mainspring. I pulled it out and cried when I saw it was in two pieces. That night I was so upset that I went to bed without dinner and cried myself to sleep. Daddy was really nice and called Daisy, but they didn't have replacement parts anymore. So I reassembled him and reverently placed him in the corner of my room. I still remembered when Daddy gave him to me. It was the second best day of my life. The first was when I met Ben. On Christmas Day 9 long years ago. I loved that BB gun. It had been a part of my life forever. We had gotten into so much trouble together. Like the time I tried to shoot the nasty black grackle which liked to chase me when I played in the backyard. I missed and hit the window in the neighbor's bird feeder. It shattered and all the seed fell out on the ground. Oh boy, was Mom ever upset when the neighbor came over and yelled at her. Then I had to help him wash his cars for a week and lost my rifle privileges for a month. Then there was the time I got caught shooting another neighbor's nasty cat. But hey, I was just protecting Flappy, our dog. That cat kept coming in our yard and attacking our dog, so I waited all day in the tree until I saw it sneaking up on Flappy and shot it twice in the rear. It yowled and ran out of the yard while I laughed so hard I almost fell out of the tree. That is until Mom and the neighbor with the nasty cat walked under the tree. They had seen the whole thing. After emptying that nasty cat's litter box and brushing the nasty cat daily for a month, I was certain I would never ever own a cat. However, my favorite game was Pretend War. I would get together with the neighborhood boys. We'd set up our green plastic army men and then take turns shooting at each other's men with our BB guns. The person that had the last man standing won, which most of the time was me because I practiced taking out multiple men with one shot. Things went well until the fateful day Ken got upset and shot me instead of my plastic army men. It hurt like holy heck, but I sure didn't cry about it. Instead, I shot him right back and then we all had a huge battle, which I won. Pretend War was never the same and almost always ended up in an outright BB gun fight. After which the mothers of the neighborhood boys came over and complained that I'd shot their boy in the rear or the arm or the leg or the back. Hey, it was a fair fight. They had BB guns too. They were just sore losers because I was sneakier and faster than they were. Okay, I do have to admit the time I was supposed to shoot the apple off Ken's head I purposely missed and shot him in the forehead. But he deserved it for trying to give me a kiss. The worst part was Mom actually made me give him a kiss. That was gross. But those and the other incidents all happened when I was a little girl. I hadn't shot any boys with my BB gun since I discovered how much more fun it was to shoot them with a paintball gun, especially one modified for cranked-up power and using slightly frozen paintballs. Besides, it was mostly legal and most of the time they wore protection. But sometimes, if I was lucky and they weren't, they forgot to wear protection down there. Oh boy, did they yell when that happened. However, the nice thing about the BB gun was I could shoot it anywhere, while the paintball gun I could only use at the paintball arena. Yes, when my rifle died, a little bit of me died with him. I looked at the dresses and a few tears slipped down my cheeks. Mom said, "Jennifer, why are you so sad on Christmas Day? Don't you like the beautiful dresses I bought you?" I wiped my eyes, smiled at Mom and lied. "Mom, I was just crying because they are so beautiful. I'm tired and I think I will go up to my room and take a nap." I slowly walked up the stairs, entered my room, saw my BB gun in the corner, picked him up and hugged him while I crawled on the bed and fell asleep. I woke some time later when Daddy softly shook my shoulders. He looked at me, smiled and said, "You really shouldn't lie to Evelyn about the dresses, but I know you just did it to keep her happy. I guess this wasn't much of a Christmas for you?" I bravely smiled and said, "Daddy, I do appreciate all the thought Mom puts into my gifts, but she really doesn't understand me or teenage girls today. I mean, if the dresses were more like the ones the other girls wear, they wouldn't be bad. But if I wore those dresses to school, all the other girls would tease me." He smiled and said, "Yeah, Jennifer, Evelyn is sort of stuck in the past, but unfortunately she worries that if you wear the new styles, people will think you're a 304. But that's not why I came up. I wanted you to come out to the workshop with me." I replied, "I'll sneak right out and be with you, Daddy, but first I need to go to the bathroom." I watched Daddy as he left and knew we were probably going to the workshop to avoid Mom. I felt a little guilty because I was sure she had yelled at him about the way I acted earlier with the dresses. Daddy and Mom didn't fight much, at least not as much as the parents of my friends. But when they fought, it was always about me. I decided that Mom wasn't happy with her life. I sure as heck didn't know why, and tried to relive her life through my life. She tried to mold me into what she really wanted to be. It might have worked with most girls, but it would never work with me for two reasons. First, I had inherited Daddy's personality. I was smart, stubborn, and tenacious as a Marine bulldog. And second, I fell in love with Ben. Darn it. That reminds me of another reason I would miss my BB gun. I used to put pictures up of Ben's skanky hoe girlfriends and shoot them. Now I wouldn't be able to do that anymore. I finished in the bathroom, put on my shoes, slipped down the stairs making sure to miss the ones that squeaked, peeked around the corner and saw Mom was as usual on the phone. I quickly and quietly crossed the hallway and slipped outside. I was free again. I ran to the workshop and flew inside. Daddy had the furnace running and it was nice, warm, and felt more like home than the cold house I'd just left. I ran up to Daddy, kissed him on the cheek and said, "Sorry if I got you in trouble again with Mom." He smiled at me and said, "That's okay, my girl. I know how disappointed you were in the dresses. Thanks for not throwing a big fit like you did when you were younger." Daddy took a big drink of his beer and asked, "How about a soda and some chips?" I giggled because Mom didn't want Daddy to eat chips or drink beer. It was unhealthy and uncouth. The workshop was Daddy's castle, and I was the only female allowed past its moat. I took some chips and a soda, grinned at Daddy and asked, "So when are you going to let me have one of your beers?" He gave me a serious look and said, "Well, I could let you have a beer right now, but then my Christmas presents for you would have to wait until tomorrow." I got really excited and asked, "Daddy, you got me more presents. When can I see them?" He smiled and explained, "Yes, young lady, I did. Before I give them to you, we need to have a serious talk. But let's unwind first while I finish my beer and you drink your soda. Then we will have a talk about your presents, and I will see if I think you're mature enough for them." Daddy wasn't being mean. He was just relaxing and recovering from the tongue lashing I was sure Mom gave him. He'd done it the same way so many times before. So even though I was impatient as heck, I slowly sipped my soda to the same rhythm Daddy drank his beer. We both finished at the same time. Daddy winked at me, and we both let out huge burps. He laughed and I giggled. Then Daddy said, "Jennifer, you're quite the young lady, and I don't tell you often enough how proud I am of you. I know it isn't easy for you, and I know how much you dislike the dresses Evelyn bought you." I replied, "Daddy, I'm just sorry that Mom always gets angry at you because of me. But I can't be like her." He shook his finger at me in mock horror and scolded, "Now that's enough of that, young lady. I don't want you to ever be like Evelyn. You are perfect just the way you are." I gently reminded him, "Daddy, didn't you mention something about more presents?" He laughed and commented, "Jennifer, I know how much fun you had with your old Red Ryder BB gun, how much it meant to you, and also how sad you were when it broke. But remember, it really was just a dangerous toy. Because it was still a gun. I blame myself for letting you take more liberties with the way you handled it than you should have." I interrupted, "Yes, Daddy, I remember, and I am embarrassed by some of the things I did with it. I could have seriously injured those boys when I shot them. But we all stopped playing war with the BB guns ages ago and moved over to using paintball guns." He laughed and said, "Yeah, I heard some complaints from the boys' moms about you injuring their son's pride." I knew what Daddy really meant and answered, "I thought they were wearing protection because they were supposed to." He scolded me just a little. "Yeah, but the biggest complaint was when the one boy Ken was on the ground hurt and you ran up and shot him there 3 more times." I defended myself, "Daddy, he keeps trying to corner me and kiss me all the time, and it makes me angry." Daddy said, "Next time he tries to kiss you, let me know. His father works for me and I will send him and his family very far away. Now, young lady, you see that box over there? That's one of your presents, and you can open it now." I was sure I was getting a new pellet rifle, but the box was square and I knew it couldn't be a pellet rifle. I quickly ran over, picked it up and carried it back to the table. I sat it on the table, started opening it, and immediately recognized that it was the Champion bullet trap I'd been looking at when we were at the gun store. I hugged Daddy and said, "Thank you very much, this is exactly what I wanted." He laughed and said, "I guess you're going to need something else to use it." I got really excited because I was sure he'd gotten me a pellet rifle. He walked to the bench, picked up a rather small box, handed it to me and said, "Now you're going to be able to use that pellet trap." I was confused because the box was much too short to be a rifle. When I tore the paper off, I saw it was the RWS pellet pistol I'd been looking at in a magazine. It wasn't a rifle, but it was something that I could shoot with. I ran over, hugged Daddy, kissed him on the cheek and said, "Thank you so much for the most wonderful Christmas gifts." He grinned at me and added, "Well, I had one more gift for you, but if this was enough, I guess I can keep it until next year." I kissed him on the cheek again and replied, "Daddy, if that's what you want to do, that's fine with me, because these 2 gifts are the best gifts ever." He told me, "Jennifer, I know you mean that, and that's why I'm going to give you your final gift this year. Now let me get up and grab it for you." He jumped up, went to the back of his car, opened the trunk and pulled out a long box. He walked over, handed it to me and said, "Now, Jennifer, this and your pellet pistol are not toys. So I'd better not hear of you ever shooting at anything with them other than targets. If you do, I will take them away forever. My hands were shaking as I opened the box. Inside was an RWS-48 pellet rifle with a real RWS scope. I ran over, hugged Daddy again, gave him big kisses on both cheeks and told him, "Thank you, Daddy. This is the best Christmas ever." He smiled at me and asked, "Don't you want to try out your new guns?" I sat at the table with him and answered, "Not right now, Daddy. I would rather talk to you and let you know how happy I am you're my daddy." Mom interrupted us by calling on the intercom. "Glenn, do you know where Jennifer is? I'd like for her to try on her dresses." He answered, "She's here with me, Evelyn, and she'll be coming in the house in a few minutes." I said, "Don't worry, Daddy. I'll go in and try on the dresses. I just hope I can come back out later and try out my new guns." He responded, "Jennifer, you're a good girl. Now go try on the dresses. I'll get your shooting range all set up for you." I drug my feet and slowly waked back to the house. I opened the door, went inside, and even though Mom kept the thermostat on 75 degrees, I shivered because of how cold the house felt. I gently closed the back door and heard Jennifer, "Come up to your room right now so we can go through your clothes." Rats, double rats, triple rats, and even quadruple rats. Mom wanting to go through my clothes was even worse than trying on dresses. This meant that we would get in a fight about which clothes I liked and wanted to keep versus which clothes I liked but Mom hated and wanted to throw away. I had to deal with Mom going through my clothes like it was a military campaign. There were battles which were worth winning and battles I could stand losing. But from years of doing this, I was prepared. My closet always had throwaway clothes which I knew annoyed Mom and which I really didn't like, but wore just enough so Mom thought I did. Those would be the battles made for losing, but there were always 3 or 4 items, usually my favorites, which we would fight tooth and nail over. Even then I knew if I gave in on one of the 3 or 4, I could keep the others, and then later retrieve the ones I'd lost from the charity bag. The problem was this took time, and right now I had more important things to do. I had guns to shoot. In the end, I gave more ground to Mom than I really wanted because I was more anxious to go shooting. Plus, she decided to give the clothes to a girl next door who was headed over to pick them up. So yes, those battles I really lost. As soon as she was done, I looked around my room and came up with a great idea on how to test my new pellet rifle. I quickly grabbed a few things, snuck down the stairs, and ran to the workshop. Daddy had leaned back in his chair and had fallen asleep. I scared the heck out of him when I roared into the workshop and he almost fell over. He looked at what I was carrying, laughed, and said, "Looks like you're planning some target practice." I smiled at him and asked, "Daddy, I hope you don't mind, but I wanted to see just how powerful my new pellet rifle is." I noticed the pellet range was all set up and Daddy had even mounted the scope on my rifle. I kissed him on the cheek and said, "Thanks, Daddy. Did you also zero the rifle?" He answered, "They bore-sighted it at the store, so it should be close enough. Why don't you zero it before you shoot at the targets you brought?" As usual, Daddy was thorough, and I had a bunch of different pellets to choose from. I had been researching this rifle forever and selected what was supposed to be the most accurate pellet. I loaded the rifle, set the fore-end on the rest, took off the safety, and gently squeezed the trigger. I jumped when the rifle fired because it was so loud and just barely hit the edge of the target. Daddy laughed. "Jennifer, you flinched?" I giggled and said, "It surprised me because it was so loud." I jumped up to get my and Daddy's hearing protectors. I hurried over and gave him his, then I went back, reloaded the rifle, and tried again. Even with the hearing protection on, I could still hear the satisfying clunk as the pellet hit the trap. I looked at the target and I was lower by 1 inch and right by 1.5 inches. I put the crosshairs of the scope on the impact point of the pellet and making sure to keep it exactly in place, I adjusted the target knobs until the crosshairs were right in the middle of the target. I took out another pellet, loaded the rifle, fired again, and it was just a little off. So I made some minor adjustments and then shot my first real group of 5. When I was done, it looked like a big ragged hole in the middle of the target. I ran over, pulled it down, took it to Daddy and said, "I want you to have my first ever 5-shot group from this rifle." He hugged me and answered, "Jennifer, you are an incredible young lady." I grinned at him and said, "Now for my fun targets." I did my best Arnold impression and said, "They will be terminated." I stood my stupid Kindle up in front of the pellet trap and loaded the rifle again. I took him at Kin, fired, and it blew his head completely off. Daddy was taking a sip of his beer and started to laugh so hard he choked. I ran over and asked, "Are you okay?" Once he could talk again, he said, "Jennifer, that was a hell of a shot." I never did care much for Kin. He seemed a bit too swishy for me. I giggled and agreed with him. Yeah, Barbie thought so too and had kicked his rear out of her dream house years ago. Now she's living with G.I. Joe. We both laughed like crazy until Mom called and said we needed to come back in the house for the night. Present, Yints. yellow cab, 423, Washington, D.C. I look at Matt, smile and say, "See, I got in trouble all the time when I was a girl." He laughs and answers, "Damn, Yince, you really had me going for a minute. I thought you'd really killed someone." I look to see Jim and a very green-looking Megan heading back to the cab. I say, "Matt, I'd love to invite you guys to stay at the hotel with us because I think it would really help Jim and Megan. But she is as sick as a dog and will probably be sleeping in front of the porcelain throne tonight. So let's try to get these two together tomorrow afternoon when you two report for work." Matt asks for confirmation. "So we're working for you again?" I grin and say, "Hell yes you are." Megan and Jim enter the car as I shout to the driver, "The extended stay Hotel Jeeves." He drives off as I suddenly remember I have my mobile phone again. I open my purse, pull out my phone, but note it's turned off. I turn it on and it immediately begins to shake, rattle, and roll like an epileptic having a seizure. I check the emails, but they aren't much of anything, so I start checking my voicemails. We just get to the hotel, but when I listen to my last voicemail from Jack, I drop my phone. "Present, Matt, yellow cab, 423, Washington, D.C. Yince suddenly looks like she challenged death to a stare down and lost. She drops her mobile phone and I ask, "Yince, what the hell is wrong?" I see tears start to slip down her face. She looks at me, says, "Dead," and passes out. Yince's phone rings. I struggle to find it, pick it up and answer, "This is Matt Combs." I can't believe what I hear next. Flashback Mira, day 8 of Spook School. Oh, my poor painful cranium. What was my location and why did my cranium resonate like a massive membranophone? I painfully opened one ocular unit and perceived my corporeal self to be in bed, in my pajamas with the two katanas. How in Hades did I arrive in this locale? The katanas reminded me of shopping yesterday and my wonderful and silly boyfriend. I rapidly rose to a sitting position. Oh, too rapidly. My cranium attempted to detonate. Locomotive vibrations resulted when I even commenced to think this morning. Where was my boyfriend and what time was it? I finally fought the other ocular unit open and perceived his items were housed in our room. I carefully studied my watch after my ocular units finally focused and realized it was very late. However, my boyfriend was not here. Then I saw it. One of his dreaded notes was perched on the desk adjacent to 2 glasses, some pills, and a large amount of paper money. I hated his unpredictable notes. I attempted to move, but my whole corporeal self complained as if driven over by a KAMAZ, the largest producer of Russian heavy trucks. My remembrances of last night were mostly the consistency of mist. I remembered silly shopping with my boyfriend at the mall store. I additionally remembered and questioned if he would really have purchased for me an engagement ring. Then real shopping in a wonderland and the 2 katanas, priceless presents which I could never hope to repay. Then our trip to the marine bar where, what was that vile brown liquid which we consumed and then barked like dogs? I crawled off the bed and advanced to the desk to acquire the note. The mere act of moving elicited a wave of nausea which I aggressively restrained. Wait, I remember that last night I spent time paying tribute to. What did my boyfriend call it? Oh yes, a yawn of technical colors at the semi-round office. I tried to giggle, but it just increased my cranial discomfort. 3 times I tried to acquire the note and finally succeeded. But the price was too great, so I ran quickly into the bathroom and once again tried to recreate the yawn of technical colors at the semi-round office, but nothing evacuated from myself. Today I was alone in my massive misery, unlike last night, when my boyfriend held and comforted me. I unfolded the note and read, "Mira, I'm sorry about last night. I should have stopped you from drinking so much bourbon. I wish I could be there to help you this morning, but something came up with Jack and I need to take care of. I called the school and left a message which said we're sick today, so don't worry about missing the classes. Just take it easy today and rest. On the table you will find a couple of aspirin, a glass of water, and a shot of vodka, hair of the dog. Use them if you need them. We hope to be back tonight for dinner, but don't worry if we're not. You should be proud of yourself because you set a new record at Gunny's. Ben." I reviewed the note because my brain could not believe or comprehend the words. Finally, the mist slowly cleared. My boyfriend and Sergeant Reynolds had something to do and I was not included. This something sounded like something the malodorous major forced them to do. And I needed something to regain the status of being among the living. Myra's magic hangover cure. With that I would be fully functional. But what was this new record my boyfriend was so proud of? Flashback, Jack, night 7 of Spook School, Gunny's bar. I was having a great time at Gunny's blowing off steam, swapping lies with the best of them, and also picking up some useful information on Major M. I determined. He was one slippery as snake oil scumsucker, had his own plans and agenda, which mostly coincided with the core. And once you were on his team, he'd do anything and everything he could to keep you safe. It made me feel better, but he was still an officer and I couldn't really trust any officer. The pickings were pretty slim here tonight. After all, it was a Sunday, so most of the ladies were already at home getting ready for work tomorrow. So, I was content with just drinking and bullshitting. That immediately changed when Ben walked in with Mira plastered to his arm. The bar became amazingly silent as all the Marines lusted after Mira. I leaned over and told my table, "See her." I tapped that. They started giving me shit, but I didn't care. Ben waved, came over to my table, and grabbed a couple of extra chairs as he and Mira sat down. I looked at Mira and asked Mira, "Why are you so happy tonight?" Well, that was a mistake because she then droned on and on about the shop. By the time she was done, she actually had me and all the Marines at the table and the others who had gathered around the table believing in the shop. I was jealous as hell since I didn't get to go. The bell rang. We all barked, except for Mira, and drank our shots. Ben explained, "Mira, in this bar we are Pavlov's devil dogs. Every time the bell rings you have to drink a shot." She grinned at Ben, kissed him on the cheek, and downed her first of very many shots. Then she said, "Boyfriend, I would like to challenge to you a contest of pointed projectiles." Ben responded, "Mira, I can't figure out what you're saying." Mira pointed at the dartboard and responded, "Sorry, my boyfriend, that I do not recall the proper terminology. But I would like to challenge you to a contest of pointed projectiles." To his credit, Ben didn't insult her, and he said, "Mira, that game is called darts. I'd love to play a game of darts with you." I said, "Shit, I'd like to play a game." Mira coyly looked at the table and announced, "I would bet almost anything I could beat everyone at this table in a contest of darts." Well, that was all it took, and the next thing we knew the whole bar was betting against Mira, and I of all people should have known better. Mira wasn't just excellent at darts, she was devastating. She never lost the whole night. I lost a shitload of money to her, and I was sure as hell others lost even more. Shit, all the shots she consumed didn't even bother her. She was the dartboard diva destroying everyone. I sat at the table with the defeated Ben and asked, "How much money did you lose to her?" He laughed and said, "Shit, Jack. I figured out really quick I wasn't going to beat her, so I only lost 100. How much did you lose?" I checked my wallet and said, "Damn, she took me for 300. How the hell did she get so damn good at darts, especially because she holds and throws them in such a crazy way?" Ben replied, "Jack, Myra's got a hell of a lot of martial arts weapons training, and some of that had to be in martial arts darts because she's holding and throwing the darts like a martial arts competition. I thought I might be able to beat her, but I didn't stand a chance." I watched as Mira easily beat another Marine. The bell rang. I took a drink, but Ben didn't. I complained, "You're not drinking?" He answered, "Jack, I'm driving tonight, and I'm done with drinking." It sure as hell didn't stop Mira. I watched as she slammed down another round. I remarked, "Don't you think you should talk to Mira about all the shots she's had?" Ben said, "Yeah, Jack, you're right. I lost count of how many she's had." Ben jumped up and headed to the dartboard. Flashback, Ben. Very early morning 8 of spook school. I walked up to Mira as she got ready to challenge another Marine. She saw me and said, "Boyfriend, come, did you here to play another contest of darts?" I shook my head. Jack was right, Mira was drunk as a skunk. I answered, "No, Mira, it's time for us to leave." The Marine she planned on challenging complained, "Hey, I wanted a chance to win back my money." Mira giggled, quickly threw all 3 of the darts, hit the bullseye with everyone and claimed, "That beat you." I gently reminded her, "Mira, weren't you supposed to be my arm candy tonight?" She giggled, stumbled to my side, latched onto my arm, and gave me a hell of a kiss. When she finally let me up for air, she answered, "Boyfriend, sorry, I remembered not I did." I motioned to Jack and headed towards the door. Gunny stopped us on the way out and said, "Ben, thanks for bringing Mira tonight. She really livened up the place. Here's a signed t-shirt for her. She set a new record for the number of shots by a woman tonight." Jack walked up and Mira surprised the hell out of us when she hugged and kissed the hell out of Gunny, pulled away and slurred, "Sir, who kind you are, you I thank." She latched onto my arm again, and I barely caught her as she passed out. Jack offered, "Ben, I could drive tonight." I griped and replied, "Like hell you can. You've had too much to drink too. But you can unlock the car doors for me while I carry Mira." I tossed him the keys and we headed out to the car. Mira was light, so the hard part of carrying her was making sure I didn't let the whole world see her assets. And because she was limp dead weight, it was even harder. I sure as hell didn't know what had gotten into Mira, since this was now 2 nights in a row that she tied one on. Jack unlocked the car as I carefully set her on the front seat, and leaned her against the center console. Jack jumped in the back, and we took off. It wasn't even 5 minutes until both of them started snoring like crazy. This was great. Snoring in stereo? I turned on the radio to drown out the snoring. A new song came on which I liked, and I tried to figure out the guitar parts when I had an evil idea. I would put both of them in bed together tonight as a prank to see what would happen in the morning. But this time my better judgment and concern that Jack might actually nail Mira set me on the straight and narrow path. Well, I wanted to nail Mira myself, but I knew I couldn't. I sure as hell didn't want anyone else, especially Jack, nailing her. I pulled up to the barracks, stopped the car, and yelled at Jack, "Wake up, you drunk, snoring old fart." He sputtered and asked, "Where are we?" I replied, "We're at the barracks, and unless you're sleeping in the car, you need to wake up and get to your room. I've got Mira to take care of tonight, and don't have time to put your drunken butt to bed again." He laughed. "Damn, for once someone's drunker than I am." I complained, "Shit, getting drunk is easy. Staying sober is the hard part. Now if you sleep in the car tonight, I don't want to listen to your whining all day tomorrow about your back being sore." He said, Okay, I'm headed to my room." I watched as he staggered out of the car and toward his room. I started to carry Mira to our room. She stopped snoring but cuddled the hell out of me and smelled pretty damn good for being so drunk. She was one hell of a woman, and if only we'd met under different circumstances. We got to our room. It was hard as hell unlocking the door and holding her at the same time. I took her inside, laid her gently on the bed, and turned her head in case she vomited. Mira would be fine for a few minutes. I needed to make sure Jack got to his room. I ran down the hallway, opened his door, and he was in his bed still in his clothes. I turned his head in case he vomited and decided he was fine. Now to take care of Mira. I ran back to our room, opened the door, and heard Mira throwing up in the bathroom. I ran in, and she was leaning against the toilet. I sat beside her, pulled her hair back, and said, "Sorry, I was making sure Jack got back to his room okay." Mira turned towards me, gave me a goofy as hell drunk smile, and said, "My wonderful boyfriend. I perceive I imbibed more alcohol than was prudent." She didn't finish her sentence because she puked again. I replied, "Mira, the best thing you can do right now is to technicolor yawn at the Oval Office until you're done and then have a good night's sleep." Mira turned toward me and asked, "Boyfriend, I cannot comprehend your recent words." I hugged her and explained. A technicolor yawn is a euphemism to vomit or expectorate. The Oval Office is a euphemism for the toilet. She giggled, then puked again. I started to get pissed at myself for not stopping her sooner. This went on for a good half hour until finally Mira was all puked out and passed out again. She was a mess, and it was time for me to clean her up. Unfortunately, this was something I had too much practice doing, first with Dad and then with Jack. But this would be the first time I had to really clean up a drunk woman, and it proved to be much more difficult, especially because she was out of order, than it would be with Jack or my dad. But I did my best while preserving Myra's modesty. I could only hope she didn't get too pissed at me in the morning, but I bet she would be too busy dealing with a world-class hangover. I just started to get ready for bed when my mobile phone rang. I checked caller ID, and shit, it was Major M. There couldn't be any good come of him calling at this time of the night. I answered, "This is Lance Corporal Blaine." Major M said, "I need you and Jack ready for a mission in 30 mics. I replied, "Sir, what equipment will we need?" He answered, "Just your weapons and ammo. Now move your butt. The chopper will be there in 30. He hung up the phone and I scrambled. I ran down to Jack's room, woke him up, and told him to get his butt in gear because we had an emergency mission. Then I ran back to our room, wrote a note for Mira, got into my full combat gear, grabbed my small go pack already set up for a 3-day mission. I loaded my M40 in one scabbard, grabbed my M4 for the other scabbard, my drag bag of various uppers and ammo for my M4 lower, and my Kimber pistol. Then I ran down to Jack's room. Thank God he was almost ready too. I helped him and he asked, "What the hell is going on?" I replied, "Major M called me, told me we had a mission and that a chopper would be here in 30. He questioned, "Did he give you any information?" I answered, "Hell no, just that we only needed our weapons and ammo. But I don't trust his, but so I decided to go and load it for bear. That's why I'm bringing my drag back. We can always drop whatever we don't need, but because we don't know what we do need or if they'd even have everything we might need, I thought we'd just take everything possible." Jack said, "That's damn good thinking on your part. Listen, I hear the chopper, let's haul outside." Flashback, Major M, mission flight. I was impressed as hell with my sergeant and lance corporal. The chopper barely touched down as they ran over in full combat gear, weapons, packs, a huge drag bag, and jumped right in. Shit. The pilot didn't even get a chance to spin down the rotors. The door slammed. I looked at them, smiled, and said, "Looks like you two are dressed for a war." Sergeant Reynolds said, Yes, sir. We weren't sure what we'd need, so we brought everything just in case. I smiled and wondered which one of them thought of this and answered, other than the uniforms, it was a wise idea. However, you two need to change into these black BDUs and combat armor. I tossed them a couple go bags and watched them start to change. Yes, they were an impressive as hell team. The Lance Corporal was first into his gear and helped the sergeant, then the sergeant checked the Lance Corporal's armor, and the Lance Corporal returned the favor. I added, this is a covert mission, so you need to sanitize your packs of anything which would identify you as a Marine. Lance Corporal Blaine replied, sir, our mission packs are generic and only contain items which civilians could purchase, so they should be fine. However, I think you will need these. I watched as he pulled off his dog tags and his HOG tooth and handed them to me. Sergeant Reynolds did the same. I answered, you must have read my mind, because I was just going to ask for those. They will stay on the ship along with your other personal belongings. Now here's the sitrep. As you know, it's spring break. A senator's college-age daughter was celebrating spring break in Bimini, and she's been grabbed by a group of opfers. We are one of several teams which have been sent in to first to take out the opfers and second secure her release. I have better intel than the other groups, because a Marine was on Bimini, saw the abduction, tailed them, and knows where she's being held. I will go in with both of you and provide support at our ORP while you two complete the mission. Do you have any questions? I handed a picture of her to the sergeant and the L.CPL. I was shocked when the Lance Corporal stated, sir, I should have told you this earlier, but you and Sergeant Reynolds will compromise this mission, so I am requesting a new partner and someone else to man the ORP. I answered, Lance Corporal, you need to explain yourself. He took a deep breath and replied, sir, we discovered that you and Sergeant Reynolds carry tracking devices which Ms. Sedankina planted in your food. If she can read the signals from them, then I'm certain that others can too. Because of this, you both present a danger to this mission. I was pissed as hell and I demanded, first, who the hell is this we, and second, how long have you known about this? He answered, sir, I will not tell you who the we is, and I've known about this for about 3 or 4 days. I meant to tell you earlier, but never found the right time. However, if you would allow it, the we I talked about earlier will finish this mission for you. I carefully thought about what I'd just been told and where I'd been for the last 4 days. Then I chewed some, but Lance Corporal not notifying me immediately of the tracking device is a serious issue and could have caused severe national security risks. You're lucky that it didn't this time, otherwise you'd be looking at brig time. If you ever learn of anything like this again, I don't care what Sergeant Reynolds taught you, you will notify an officer immediately. Now, are the we you talked about the other 2 Marines you have helping you? He replied, sir, all I will say is they are just friends of mine and are as qualified for this mission as I am. If I call them now, we can turn this chopper around and exchange them for you and Sergeant Reynolds. I contemplated what he said, but quickly decided, Lance Corporal, your poor decision has left me no choice in this matter, and we will discuss this later. Call your friends and tell them to move their butts. I ordered the chopper back to the school. I listened when the Lance Corporal grabbed his old pants, took out his phone, turned it on, placed a call, and talked to his friends in a code which I couldn't understand. Then he opened the chopper door slightly, threw away his phone, and said, sir, they know the situation and will be ready when we land at the school. I disposed of my phone so no one could use it to either track us or to pull any additional information off it. I would suggest you, Sergeant Reynolds, and anyone else on this chopper do the same. I understood he really threw the phone away, so I couldn't figure out who his friends were, even though I was pretty sure I already knew who they were. I looked at Sergeant Reynolds and asked, how much of this did you know about, and did you turn your mobile phone off? Sergeant Reynolds replied, sir, I didn't bring my phone with me. He only answered part of my question, so he must have also known about the tracking devices. I ordered, Lance Corporal, Sergeant Reynolds and I will man the LPOP for this mission. You will stay in contact through TAC radios with us. Failure on this mission is not an option. You will either succeed or die trying. Do you understand my orders? He replied, yes, sir. I understand how my negligence to inform you of the tracking devices has jeopardized not only national security but also this mission, and I thank you for the opportunity to still complete this mission. I will never withhold information like this from you again and fully expect to be reprimanded after we complete this mission. I watched in amazement as he took his M4 out of his pack, removed all the mags out of his tactical vest, took a different upper and mags out of his drag bag, disassembled his M4, put the new upper on it, and loaded the new mags into his tactical vest. I noticed a can suppressor on the modified M4 and ordered, Lance Corporal, let me see one of those rounds. He dropped the mag, slipped a round out of the mag, and handed it to me. Then he said, sir, with the mission requirements you just gave me, I felt it would be wise to have a subsonic, fully suppressed weapon to complement my long-range sniper rifle. I replaced the normal M4 upper with a 300 Whisper, a group of cartridges developed in the early 1990s by J.D. Jones of SSK Industries, Upper and a Gemtech can. I replied, Lance Corporal, this is not Marine issue, and I'm not sure it's legal. I detected almost a laugh in his voice when he answered, Sir, I could say the same thing about this mission. Sergeant Reynolds taught me anything truly worth fighting for is worth fighting dirty. Now, if you are uncomfortable with this, let me know. But this gear and the gear which the rest of my team will be using is going to give us a decided advantage. Is there a problem with this? I studied the round in my hand because I knew exactly what it was. In the right hands, it was 400 yards of silent death, so I asked, Lance Corporal, just where did you get this gear? Sergeant Reynolds answered, Sir, it won't do you any good to ask that question. He'll feed you some story about the shop, which I really think is a cover for a weapons warehouse Ben owns. I'd heard about the shop and even spent some time trying to find it, without luck. I handed the round back to the Lance Corporal. He put it back in the mag and slammed the mag home in the rifle. Then I questioned, Lance Corporal, is what the sergeant said about the shop true? He well and truly frustrated me when he answered, Sir, I don't know what Sergeant Reynolds is talking about. The chopper got ready to touch down and I said, Lance Corporal, these discussions are not over. When you complete this mission, we will have a serious talk about everything. The chopper touched down. I opened the door. Sergeant Reynolds and I jumped out while two men in full black BDUs and combat gear, including face masks, ran over from the bushes and jumped into the chopper. I closed the door, smacked the side of the chopper twice, and the sergeant and I stepped away as it took off. I looked at Sergeant Reynolds and commented, I'll get another chopper here to take us to HQ. While we're waiting, tell me, just how long have you known about the tracking devices and why the hell didn't you inform me? Flashback, Jack mission. Damn. Ben really let the cat out of the bag when he told the Major about the tracking devices. Oh, it was the right thing to do, but it was the worst possible time and an even worse way to tell him. Now the Major asked me, while we're waiting, just how long have you known about the tracking devices and why the hell didn't you inform me? I thought it over and figured the truth and a little counterattack was the best defense in this case, so I replied, Sir, while Ben never exactly told me about the tracking devices, two things made me suspicious about them. First, I stumbled upon a device in Myra's room which seemed to display Myra's, and your locations. And second, which you should have also noticed, Ben stopped eating cafeteria food when the rest of us chowed down. I watched the Major's face. He was hard as hell to read and I'd hate to face him in poker, but he finally said, Sergeant, I can tell you didn't lie to me. But then again, you should have come to me with your suspicions. And you're right. I did find it unusual when the Lance Corporal stopped eating food with everyone else, and I should have asked him why and probably would have. But with the way you've trained him, I'm not sure he would have given me the truth. You need to get your head out of your butt and realize we're on the same team together. I know you've had problems with officers in the past, and frankly, there was equal fault on both parts. I'm telling you three things right now, and you'd better understand them. 1. I'm not that sort of officer, so you need to learn to trust me. 2. You'd better have a long talk with the Lance Corporal about this. And 3. I've saved both your butts from the fate worse than death which the old man had planned. So I figure you both owe me. I looked at him and boldly offered, Sir, you've read my record, so you know why I distrust officers. And while I thank you for saving us from what you said the old man was going to do to us, I would like tangible proof that we're on the same team together. So I want to offer you a deal. If you cut Lance Corporal Blaine and me some slack on the whole tracking device issue, then I will know we're on the same team and I will work on Ben. Plus, I will also give you the monitor device for Myra's room. He said, Sergeant, it's about time you showed me the initiative which you used to display. I've been waiting for it. If the Lance Corporal and his team of Marines are able to succeed in this mission, then you have a deal. We shook hands and I knew this was money in the bank because there was no way Ben would screw up this mission. I smiled and added, I have the device hidden in my room and will go and get it right now. I took off toward my room and smiled inside. I loved it when a plan came together. Flashback Mira, Day 8 of Spook School. My hangover cure finally started to work, and I perceived how foolish I was last night when I imbibed such a large quantity of alcohol that I almost became toxic. I crimsoned because my boyfriend must be embarrassed about my ill-advised actions, and I will need to control myself perfectly tonight. I lovingly held the katanas and suddenly comprehended that I forgot to inform Ira of the wonderful gift. I acquired my mobile phone from my purse, looked at it, and saw many missed calls, all from my beloved sister. She would not be pleased with me for missing the calls, but knowledge of her new katana would alleviate most of her irritation. I placed a call to her, and she answered in our own private language. Mira, you worried me when you did not answer my calls last night. I hope you were able to complete the odious duty with Lance Corporal Blaine, and that is why you were indisposed. I secretly wished my odious duty was the reason I was indisposed. I responded, Ira, unfortunately, he has still resisted all my attempts at seduction. I am sorry for not calling last night, but we were celebrating the wonderful gifts Lance Corporal Blaine provided for both of us. Ira answered, Mira, why would Lance Corporal Blaine provide me a gift? He does not know me? I giggled even though it still slightly vibrated my cranium and said, Ira, my sister. He provided you a gift because he is a most wonderful and generous man. Are you not interested in what your gift is? She grumped as she replied, I am sure it is something silly like perfume. I laughed, but this time it caused real pain as I answered, Oh no, my sister. This gift is much more practical. When I first beheld it, I almost voided myself. Ira asked, Mira, if it is that wonderful a gift, then I am certain I will enjoy it. Please tell me what it is. I wanted to tease Ira slightly longer, so I informed her in great detail about the whole day. I described how my boyfriend, of course I called him Lance Corporal, took me shopping at the big mall. I left out the engagement ring mistake. Then I informed her all about the shop and finally told her about her new katana. She questioned, My sister, have you lost complete sanity? No one would give such a magnificent gift without the expectation of massive favors in return. I laughed at her incredulity and answered, My sister, you will consume your consonants because I will send you a picture of your new katana. Now I need information from you. It seems that the malodorous Major M has the Lance Corporal and the Sergeant on a mission. I no longer have my tracker. I assume Kai accidentally took it when he left, so I must determine their location. Ira replied, Mira, I will send you their locations after our call terminates, and I will also wait for the pictures of my mythical katana. Until I receive the pictures, my sister, I will not believe your tale of the fairies. I giggled as I responded, Ira, I hate to terminate this call since I am so amused at your reaction. However, I have concerns about the location of the Lance Corporal. Have a good time, and I look forward to when I can observe you consume your consonants. I terminated my mobile phone call, took a photograph of Ira's new katana and also one of my new katana along with the fact sheets for both, then sent them to Ira. I waited and finally the coordinates arrived for myself. I am still upset my boyfriend somehow put his tracking device in my food. Stinky Sergeant Reynolds and malodorous Major M. I plotted them on the map and was not pleased when I realized the sergeant and the major were in a special building used by one of the American spy groups. This was not acceptable. Flashback, bin, mission. When the chopper was in the air, Tom handed me a new mobile phone with a breakfast MRE and asked, So, Major M was pissed? I started cooking the MRE, laughed and replied, Yeah, but not as pissed as the old man is about someone stealing his breakfast MREs. We all got a chuckle out of that and I reassured them, I didn't let Major M know who you two are, but he's sneaky as hell and is going to figure it out if you guys hang around much longer. After this mission, you guys better take off. Howard answered, Tom and I have been talking about this for a couple days. Our R&R is shot, so we have to head back. But with all the bullshit going on at this school, we can't leave you and Jack alone, so we have a couple of friends coming to take our place. It felt good to know I'd have some backup because they were right. This school had stopped being a joke. It had become a deadly survival torture training. I finished my MRE and said, Okay guys, here's the sitrep. A senator's daughter was doing the girls gone wild shit in Bimini and was grabbed by some opfers. We're one of several teams going in to rescue her, but we have the advantage because there's a Marine that tailed the opfers to the location where they're holding her. I handed my picture of her to Tom. He looked at it and passed it to Howard. Tom questioned, What's the group size of the opfers? I shook my head. I don't know. Howard added, What do you know about the Marine tailing her? Is he an asset? I again said, I don't know, and because of that I'm only planning on using him if it becomes an all-out firefight. I continued in sarcastic tone of voice and impersonated the major. One more thing. Failure on this mission is not an option. You will either succeed or die trying. Tom and Howard laughed and Tom said, Damn, you do the major pretty good. And he sure as hell didn't give you much information. I answered, My guess is he was going to brief Jack and me when we set up the ORP. I threw a big wrench in his oplan when I told him about the tracking devices. Now he's going to have to brief us over this. I handed them each a comm set and said, Major Payne wants us to use these. He and Jack are going to be running the show, just like typical REMs. He wants us to use comm frequency 2, which is what we will all start out on. However, I will be using 2 headsets. One on comm frequency 2 and one on comm frequency 10, which is what we will be using during the mission because I don't want him giving us shit during the mission. Tom, you will set up the ORP with the computer and the comm gear. Howard, you're with me on the mission. The chopper pilot announced, We'll be landing on the ship in 2 minutes. The chopper touched down. I pulled my face mask over my face and held out my fist. We bumped fists and said, Semper Fi until we die. We were greeted by the XO. He took us below deck to a room, and I felt the ship vibrate as the screws spun up. He said, This is your room for the next 3 hours. I'll come and get you 15 minutes before we arrive. I looked at Tom and Howard and said, I'm going to catch a couple. Tom agreed with, sounds like a plan. Howard added, will you two shut the hell up so I can get some sleep? Flashback Mira, day 8 of Spook School. My phone rang. It was my sister Ira. I laughed when I answered. I informed you. Now have you consumed your consonants? Ira replied, Mira, my sister, yes I have. I am sorry to have doubted you, but you have acted peculiarly lately. They are truly wonderful weapons, and I cannot believe the Lance Corporal would give them to you. I laughed. Yes, Ira, I have tried to inform you about the type of man the Lance Corporal is. Perhaps now you will believe me. Then Ira asked the question I had been dreading. Mira, it appears as if the L.CPL's tracking device is in your room. I admitted my failure. Yes, Ira, the Lance Corporal was most astute and comprehended about the tracking devices in the food. He switched meals with me, and his tracking device now shows my location. She added, Mira, something is going on because the American communications channels are resounding like bees. Now knowing the L.CPL's tracker is tracking you, I am able to analyze matters better. It was confusing with the major and sergeant being at the American spy building and thinking the Lance Corporal was still at the school. I agreed. With the information you have just shared with me, I can postulate that my Lance Corporal informed the sergeant and major about the tracking devices and that he is on a mission while they provide support. Ira was silent for a moment, then answered, Mira, I must go. We will try to ascertain the situation which has activated the American spy community. I will phone you later. Take care, my sister. I love you. I replied, and you also take care, my sister. I love you. Flashback, Ira. After conversation with Mira, I completed the debriefing of Kai, but there were gaping holes in some portions of it. I had also comprehended the email report from our other agent at the school and was terribly troubled by both. Now my phone conversation with my sister, especially when she called the Lance Corporal my Lance Corporal, confirmed my worst suspicions. Mira had formed an emotional attachment to Lance Corporal Blaine. This was strictly forbidden by the Beast, and if he comprehended the attachment, Mira would receive a punishment worse than death. I carefully considered all my options and decided I must hide this from the Beast, and I also needed to rectify Myra's mess. Present Mira, on the plane. I just begin to scold the two girls when all Hades loosens its bond. There is an extreme explosion. The airplane begins to vibrate violently, and smoke slowly seeps into the cabin. I fear the fuselage integrity is compromised, and there is a fire somewhere on the airplane. I calmly turn from the girls, traverse immediately to the flight deck, and open the door. Warning lights and klaxons are creating a flashing fusillade and cacophony of craziness. I demand, what in Hades happened, and what are your contingency plans? I observe the pilot and co-pilot struggling to stabilize the flight. The pilot answers, there was an explosion in the baggage compartment, and there is a fire. It must have damaged some of the controls because we're having a hard time controlling the aircraft. I question, what is our location? The co-pilot responds, we're still over the ocean. I know because of our Great Circle route we are coming in over the eastern seaboard of the United States, so I additionally question, is the glide ratio of the damaged airplane sufficient to reach coastal United States? The pilot grimly declares, we're having a hard enough time keeping this bird in the sky, let alone trying to make land and safely touch down. I'm planning on ditching in the ocean as close to the coast as possible. I respond, I will traverse to the aft cabin and assure that everyone is prepared for the water landing. What else may I do to help? The co-pilot asks, can you pray, or are you lucky? I calmly answer, I am both. The pilot orders, then go aft, get everyone ready, strap in, start praying and rubbing your lucky rabbit's foot. We're going to need all the help we can get. I'm not sure what the lucky rabbit's foot comment means, so I ignore it. I close the flight deck door, traverse aft, and see that everyone looks and acts like confused chickens with detached cranial cavities. I yell in my command voice, acquire your seats and intently incline your auditory senses to my announcement. I wait for them to settle and inform them. The flight crew has informed me they can no longer control this aircraft and will make an emergency water landing. Everyone immediately begins babbling again, so I command, shut the Hades up and open your auditory senses. We have excellent odds of surviving this if we remain sensible and act in an orderly fashion. Liz and Bernie, please calmly and carefully acquire personal flotation devices for everyone. I notice Ben's sisters are extremely agitated, and I continue. While you acquire the personal flotation devices, I will instruct the two girls on the procedure. Present Liz on the plane. What a screwed up day. First Ira dies, and now something's happened to the plane. Damn it. We pay good money for these planes, so something like this isn't supposed to happen. Thank God Myra's here because she calmly takes charge and requests of us. Please calmly and carefully acquire personal flotation devices for everyone. I pull the emergency card out of the seat back in front of me and read that the PFDs are located under each seat, then I check the directions on how to wear them. I notice Bernie is doing the same thing. I reach under my seat, pull out my PFD and strap it on. I stand up, turn around, see Mira talking to the girls and also notice Alexei is out of his seat looking for something. I say, Bernie, while Myra's busy taking care of the girls, I'm going to go check on Alexei. Bernie replies, I'm coming with you, Liz. We walk to the back of the plane and I ask, Alexei, what are you looking for? He pulls a cylindrical container out of an overhead compartment, smiles and says, Ms. Morgan, I needed to find this container. Now that I have found it, I will retire to my seat. I question, Alexei, what is so important about that cylinder? He answers, sorry, Ms. Morgan, I do not know what it contains. Just that it is very important to my sister Mira and she would not want to exit the airplane without it. I take a PFD from under his seat, help him put it on correctly, sit on the seat beside him and explain, well, Alexei, that can't be loose on the plane. If we crash, it could injure someone. He smiles at me and replies, Ms. Morgan, you mean when we crash? I will restrain it with a seatbelt. I watch and then help him belt in the cylinder. Bernie yanks on it a couple times and says, Liz, I think it will be safe here. I say, Alexei, when we crash you need to put your head in your lap like this. I bend at the waist and demonstrate. He mimics me and announces, thank you, Ms. Morgan, for the reminder. I read the emergency card when the catastrophe occurred. I ask, is there anything else that you need? He says, thank you, Ms. Morgan, but I already have the container and have also prepared a bag for Mira and myself with some water and food, so I do not think further help is required. However, you might get a bag ready with food and water for yourselves and the annoying girls. We should also acquire some medical supplies for an emergency. I squeeze his hand and say, Alexei, you're right. I do need to get a bag ready for us and for the girls. You just call if you need anything. I head towards the front with Bernie and ask, Bernie, does he seem too calm to you? Bernie replies, Liz, it's spooky how calm Mira and Alexei are. Perhaps it runs in their family. We arrive up front and begin to prepare our ration bags and grab a first aid kit. Present, Yasmin and Zarika, on the plane. Yasmin, the last mean lady, just starts to scold us. Then there is a loud noise which hurts my ears and the airplane bounces around and almost makes me sick. The mean lady leaves, so I look at Zarika and ask, Zarika, what is happening? She replies, Yasmin, I think someone attacked the airplane like when our bin attacked the helicopter. I remember how the helicopter crashed, become scared and say, do you think we will crash like the helicopter? Zarika answers, Yasmin, I do not know anything about airplanes other than stories of some terrible crashes I saw on the news. I start to cry and complain, Zarika, I do not want to die. She starts pulling on her metal restraint and yells, I do the same. Zarika, the mean lady, finally comes back over and says, girls, you must listen to me. Yasmin yanks on her metal restraint and cries, I do not want to die. I yank on my wrist and order, let us go, you sucker. The mean lady slaps me so hard and fast I do not even see it coming and says, listen, you too. We will not die if you follow my instructions exactly. However, if you deviate from them, you will surely die. Do you understand? I nod my head and Yasmin says, yes, dear lady, please save us. The mean lady continues, we will be landing on the water, which will be much safer than attempting a landing on the ground. Yasmin screams like a baby and interrupts, but I cannot swim. I add, I also cannot swim. The mean lady grins and says, you will both wear flotation vests which will keep you from having to swim, and we will also have boats composed of rubber to keep us out of the water. Now do not interrupt me again. I watch as she takes a flotation vest from under my seat, helps me put it on and then says, you inflate the vest by pulling on the tabs and normally it is not done until you exit the airplane. However, since neither of you can swim, you may inflate your vests when we stop moving after hitting the water. Just be careful you do not puncture the vest. She then turns and helps Yasmin. She then hands each of us an extra vest and orders, hold these in case you puncture the vest you are wearing. She sits beside me and then says, before we crash you must bend over like this, or your back and neck might become damaged. Both Yasmin and I practice bending down. The mean lady finally instructs us, I am going to remove your restraints, but you need to remain in your seats and obey all my directions. Will you be able to perform these acts as I have instructed? I say, yes, I will. Yasmin also agrees. The mean lady removes the metal restraints and says, I need to go take care of Alexei. Now remember to maintain your promises. As she leaves, I look at Yasmin and say, Yasmin, this is not a time to be silly. For right now we need to obey completely. Yasmin sniffles, sits beside me, holds my hand and whines, Zarika, I am very scared of the water. I pretend to be brave and say, Yasmin, I will help to keep you safe. However, I wonder who will keep me safe. Present Mira, on the plane. I temporarily debate with myself about leaving the two girls restrained to the sinking airplane, but I can not because I know of my Ben's feelings towards them. The smoke is increasing and the airplane is yawing terribly. The oxygen masks deploy and I announce, place the oxygen masks over your nasal units. I watch as Liz assists the two girls. I traverse to the rear of the airplane and proudly smile when I see Alexei. Somehow he has uncovered Ira's gift and has it securely strapped into the seat adjacent to his. He has his oxygen mask on and shows merely slight fear in his ocular units. I say to him, Alexei, my brother, I am very proud of you. You have discovered Ira's gift, and you have also correctly prepared for our water landing. Even as important as Ira's gift is to me, you are more important, so you will first protect yourself and then supervise the gift. Alexei responds, Mira, my sister, I am an excellent swimmer and I believe the mass of this gift is less than the mass of water, so it will float. Do not concern yourself. I will protect myself, you, and the gift. I hug him and answer, Alexei, we are brother and sister and will save each other. As the airplane continues to toss, I take a moment to calmly assess the situation and realize I almost overlooked one important fact. I order, everyone must calmly and carefully locate to the aft of the airplane because it will give us the greatest opportunity for survival. I watch as they obey my orders. Liz brings the two girls with her, then they take their seats and are now prepared. I traverse to the flight deck, open the door and announce, we all have acquired personal flotation devices and have located to the aft of the airplane. If you have no other needs, I will join them. The pilot responds, we're going to ditch about 1.5 miles off the coast because there's too much boat traffic to try to come in any closer. As it is, I'm just hoping no one's in the way when we come down because we're having a hard enough time controlling the plane for a landing. The co-pilot adds, we sent out distress signals and the Coast Guard is already gearing up. 5 more minutes until we try for a landing. But because of the weight of the gold, this plane is going to sink like a rock. So as soon as we stop moving, get everyone off the plane. I observe the pilot and co-pilot are very calm even in the midst of this calamity and inquire, are you both retired military officers? The co-pilot says, yes, we were both Air Force pilots. I inwardly smile knowing that our chances of survival have greatly increased. I leave the flight deck door open, traverse aft to the seat across from Alexei and prepare myself. We hear the pilot shout, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your butts. This is going to be bumpy. The co-pilot kills the power and the pilot flares the nose. We impact the ocean like an obese child performing a mid-digestion section maneuver off a high diving board. The airplane starts groaning and shuddering, then quickly comes to a stop while jerking and snapping the Hades out of us. Present Liz on the plane. Thank God. We survived the water landing, but water is already rushing into the plane. I hate plane crashes. This is my second one, and I'm about ready to give up flying. We hear a yell from the flight deck. I could use some help up here. Mira jumps up and replies, I will be there momentarily to assist you. First, I'm assisting everyone else off the airplane. He yells back, well, don't take too long or our gooses are cooked. Mira commands, everyone please traverse with me to the emergency exit. I will open the door and assist all you into the rafts. Then I will go assist the pilot and co-pilot. She opens the door and water rushes into the plane. The two girls start going crazy. Present, Zarika and Yasmin, on the plane. Yasmin, there is already water on the floor of the airplane. When the lady opens the door, water starts coming into the airplane very fast. I pull on the tabs of my flotation vest, run away from the door and yell, Zarika, we are going to drown. Zarika chases me and says, Yasmin, come back here. The lady yells, you girls need to come here immediately. But I must get away from the water. I am very afraid of water. Zarika. Yasmin is being a crazy child and starts running away from the door. I begin to chase her and yell at her, but she will not listen to me. Instead, she cowers like a scared little dog near the front of the airplane. I watch as the others are leaving the airplane and the water is getting deeper. I sit beside her and say, Yasmin, come, we must leave the airplane with the others. Yasmin yells at me, leave me alone, you worthless sit-faced sucker. You are just trying to kill me so you can have Ben all to yourself. I can only think of one thing to do. Present Mira, on the plane. I open the door and water rushes in. The co-pilot is correct. This airplane will only stay on the surface for a minimal period of time, so I must make haste. Dawn is arriving and I have sufficient light to assess the situation and decide God must be smiling on us because the ocean is calm. The waves are barely 0.25 meters high. Yasmin foolishly allows fear to overrule any common sense she possesses and runs away. Zarika more calmly follows her, but I do not have excess time to deal with them right now. First, I must make sure Alexei, and then Ms. Morgan and finally Bernie are safely on the raft. I stand in the doorway, pull the tab on the first raft, and it inflates. Then I tie the mooring line to the airplane. I look at the trio and announce, first I will help Alexei to the raft, and I will come back for the rest of you. Should the airplane submerge before I help everyone to the raft, make sure to remove this mooring line, and do not worry, there will be much air trapped in the airplane. Alexei boldly steps through the door, carrying Ira's gift and a big bag and says, Mira, I do not need assistance. Please help Ms. Morgan. Pride swells within my breast as he safely enters the raft. Ms. Morgan and Bernie step up, also carrying bags, and Ms. Morgan says, Mira, we don't need any help. Go and get the girls and please help the pilot and co-pilot. I haven't heard anything from them. I hand them the second raft and say, once you are safely aboard the raft, please inflate this raft. I make sure they are safely aboard the raft, turn to go help the girls and notice Zarika is dragging Yasmin towards me. I head to them, help her and inquire, what has happened to Yasmin? Zarika grins at me and explains, she had an accidental meeting with my hand. Aha, now I understand. Zarika applied her clenched fist to Yasmin and rendered her unconscious. Sometimes she is such a wise girl and follows after my own major blood-pumping organ. I smile at her and express agreement. Sometimes the proper application of force is required to rectify a situation. I am thankful for your timely action. By the time we reach the doorway, water half fills the airplane. Bernie jumps out of his raft and helps us load the unconscious Yasmin into the second raft, then assists Zarika. I announce, the pilot and co-pilot must be injured. I am going to render assistance to them. Alexei asks, Mira, please use caution. I do not wish to lose my only sister. I smile and say, Alexei, I promise you I will not leave you. I traverse toward the interior of the airplane. It is now 3/4 full of water and is sinking rapidly. I arrive at the flight deck and the pilot says, thank God. My back and leg are all busted up and Brett the co-pilot is dead. I help him into a personal flotation device and he asks, do you think we could get Brett's body out of here too? He has a family and I'd hate for him to go down with the plane. It reminds me of how melancholy I am that I do not have my sister's body to correctly entomb, so I agree. Yes, we will retrieve Brett's body. I remove Brett's seatbelts and begin to place another personal flotation device on his limp body. It looks like it was not Brett's day of good fortune. When the airplane impacted the ocean, the windshield broke in front of him and a piece of glass pierced his jugular vein. The water is close to the ceiling of the airplane, so I look at the pilot and say, you must take many quick and deep breaths. I never finish because the airplane slips below the surface of the ocean. Present Liz on the raft. I'm hugging Alexei as the airplane starts going down and begins to pull the raft with it. Bernie unties the rope and Alexei wails, we cannot do this. We must rescue my sister. I hug him tighter, but I can't find the words to comfort him. Shit. He's lost both sisters in a very short period of time. What can I possibly say to comfort him? Present, Zarika, on the raft. The brave lady goes back into the airplane. I suppose to save the pilot and co-pilot. But she must have problems because the plane sinks before she comes out. I cry a little for her, because she saved me many times. Present, Jack, Private Airport, Washington, D.C. I can't believe it. All hell has broken loose. Liz's plane is down, somewhere in the ocean off New York. As they first tell us, I have to catch Masha as she starts to crumple to the floor. Then she surprises the hell out of me as her Russian stoicism kicks in and she says, Jack, you cannot be distracted from managing the rescue operation. Tell me what I can do to assist you. I think for a moment and request, Masha, thanks for the offer. While I'm busy with this, do you think you could please follow up on the new lead we have on Ben? She smiles, kisses me on the cheek and says, certainly my husband. I will make some phone calls. I momentarily scratch my head and once again wonder about these phone calls she sometimes makes. All I know is when she calls whoever she calls, things just happen. I decide it's time for me to make some calls of my own to make sure some of my shit happens. I finally get in touch with Linus, relay the news, and tell him to get his butt here yesterday. I call Jens' phone, and when Matt Combs answers he tells me Jens is passed out. But he promises he'll bring her, a drunk as a skunk Megan and Jim right to the airport. Damn crazy scumsuckers, out terrorizing Gunny's bar while Liz's plane crashes. I think for a moment or two more and dial up someone I haven't talked to for years. He answers the phone and I begin. General Donaldson, this is Jack Reynolds. He answers, Jack, it's good as hell to hear from you, but call me Glenn because I retired a while back. So what's going on? I tell him all about Liz's plane crash, and he promises to call in some favors to help with the rescue. He asks, is Jennifer there? I'd like to talk to her. I answer, sorry, Glenn. She's not here yet, but I will have her call you when she gets here and we get her settled down. He sounds sad as he reminds me of someone else I should call. I add, Glenn, you just reminded me of a great idea. Someone who still owes me. Glenn answers, glad to help, Jack. Let us know what's going on and if you need any more help. I hang up the phone and make the next call to Captain M. It's a long story how he lost rank. Thank God it was Ben's fault and not mine. But that's all behind us now because he was seriously wounded in the sandbox and Ben pulled his butt out of the 8-ton and saved his life. There aren't too many jobs in the Corps for someone in a wheelchair, so I'd heard rumors he'd become some sort of super analyst for the spooks. He answers the phone with, Jack Reynolds, it's about time you've called me. After all, you've been in DC for weeks. Damn, he knows everything. I reply cautiously, yeah, I've been real busy. Mike laughs, yeah, I know you're still trying to find Ben and that you finally figured out he was involved in the recent bus battle. I respond, Mike, I'd love to pick your brain on that later, but right now there's bigger fish to fry. Liz Morgan's plane was ditched in the ocean somewhere off the coast of New York, and I was wondering if you could help? He responds quickly, Jack, you should have called me right away. Give me the flight number and I'll get right on it. I give him the flight number and he explains his plan. Jack, Liz is a VIP and I'm bringing in a team on this immediately. I hang up the phone and decide it's time for me to start chewing some butt. Present, Linus, MASH Airplane, Washington, D.C. I took an unbelievable phone call from Jack. I'm still stunned when I walk back into the C-130 where Maria is working on Tom's leg. Maria asks me, Linus, what the hell is wrong? Don't tell me after all our hard work one of the guys died. I shake my head and answer, no, Maria, but it might be worse. We might have lost everyone on the flight from Tajikistan. Jack just called me and told me their plane went down in the ocean. Maria expounds, Linus, you're kidding me. Tom suddenly demands, who the hell was on the flight? I answer them both, Maria honey. I would never joke about something like this. And Tom, it was Liz Morgan, her cameraman Bernie, her bodyguard Mira, and 2 young girls who were Ben Blaine's adopted sisters. Maria's eyes start to tear up and she questions, Linus, do you have any more information? I answer, not much. Jack just found out. Apparently the plane had some sort of problem, and they ditched somewhere in the ocean off the coast of New York. Tom orders, Maria, patch me up as fast as you can. I want to get over there and help out. I have some friends who might be useful. I answer, well, you certainly won't have to go far. They were supposed to land at this airport and Jack is in the main building. Maria orders, Linus, I'll finish up with Tom as fast as I can. You get your butt over to the main building and help Jack. She gets up, gives me a big hug and whispers in my ear, Linus, give the scumsuckers hell and make sure they have everyone and their brother out searching for them. She swats me on the butt as I leave the C-130 and head towards the main building. How in the hell did this happen? Present, Matt, Yellow Cab, 423, Washington, D.C. I hang up the phone and now know why the hell Jens dropped the phone, just said dead and passed out. I order the cab driver, this is an emergency. Get us to the Robinson Private Airport as soon as possible. If you get any speeding tickets, we will pay for them. The cab roars away from in front of the extended stay hotel and Jim asks, Matt, what the hell is going on? You look like you're going to puke? I shake my head and answer, Jim, Liz's plane went down somewhere in the ocean off the coast of New York. Jim questions, are there any survivors? I continue to shake my head and answer, Jack said they are just gearing up for the rescue, and he doesn't know. I look at Jens and remember what a good friendship she had. Has, with Liz. I then realize that with the loss she already feels over Ben, this is going to make things even worse. On top of it all, Jens starts having some sort of fit and is thrashing around like an epileptic fish out of water. Present, Jens, Dream, Washington, D.C. I'm running like hell, in full combat gear, armed to the teeth and yell, Maria, move that butt of yours, or we will be too late. Maria replies, I'm running as fast as I can. I decide this is too important to wait for her, so I sprint ahead. I've got to get to that scumsucker. I can't believe he's doing this. If he goes through with this, I'm going to kill the son of a bitch. I see the church just ahead and hope I'm not too late. I fly through the door and here, I present to you Mrs. Stacy and Mr. Benny Blaine. The scumsucker really married her. It's the little bitch from the fast food restaurant. She's in a beautiful gleaming white, as if the little 304 was pure enough to wear white wedding dress, and Ben is so handsome in a black tuxedo. And the scumsucker Jack is his best man, and son of a bitch Masha is her maid of honor. Talk about being stabbed in the back. I thought those two were my friends. Shit. I'm too late and y'all knew. You can't marry that skanky little bitch. You promised me. I don't even realize what I'm doing as I level my M4 at the altar and pull the trigger. But it sure as hell feels satisfying when I see Ben's blood splatter her wedding dress. Now the color suits her much better. She looks at me and cries, you biatch. You just killed my husband. I yell, you little bitch. He promised to marry me first, and if I can't have him, no one can have him. She yells, you biatch, I'm going to kill you. I taunt, come and get some, you skanky hoe. We run towards each other and start a huge fight in the middle of the church aisle. What the hell? Someone's shaking my shoulder. Present, Matt, Private Airport, Washington, D.C. We arrive at Robinson Private Airport in record time. Megan is still out of it, and Yince stopped flopping around, but is still unconscious. I shake her, and her face is masked in anger as she explodes. The scumsucker deserved to be killed. I look at Yince, wonder what the hell she's talking about, and say softly, Yince? Remember, Liz's plane went down, and we're at the airport. Her expression changes to sadness, and she replies, sorry, Matt. I was having a really bad dream. I'm not sure about her bad dream, because it sounds like whomever she was dreaming about had a much worse dream than she did, especially after being killed. Present, Yince, Private Airport, Washington, D.C. I'm still pissed as hell about my terrible nightmare. Ben frickin' married Stacy, and not me. Wait a frickin' minute. How the hell do I know her name is Stacy? Suddenly I realize how. She's that frickin' runaway heiress, Stacy Summers. I've seen all the reward ads for her. She's dyed her hair and cut it shorter, but I'm sure it's her. The conniving little bitch. I bet she has something to do with Ben running away and staying away. I can't wait to talk to the team about this. But first, damn it, we've got to find Liz and the rest of the people on the plane. I command Jim, bring Megan into the main building and take good care of her. Matt, let's go in and see what's going on. I bail out of the cab, wobble a little. Matt steadies me and asks, Yince, are you okay? I smile at him and brag, hell no. You should know by now I'm not okay. I'm fantastic. As we head into the main building, Jack sees me and gives me an evil look. I walk over to him and demand, what's your problem? He waves his hand in front of his face and says, You smell like the bottom of the barrel at a brewery. What the hell are you doing partying while Liz is dying? I get in his face and respond, me being here wouldn't have made a bit of difference in her plane going down. Now what have you done to find them? He tells me about all the calls he's made and how he's chewed everyone's butts, and I say, listen, Jack, I'm sorry you couldn't get in touch with me. I forgot Megan brought me my phone and it was turned off. He answers, Yince, I was just worried for you when I couldn't get in touch with you. By the way, I have Masha following up on a lead we have on Ben's location. Plus, I think I know of someone with huge resources who can help us. I answer, Jack, I really need a cup of coffee, and then I want to talk to Masha. I gulp and continue. I'm pretty sure I know who Ben's traveling with. We head over to the coffee pot, and Masha walks up. She gives me a funny look and asks, Jennifer, you seem upset at me about something. I hope I have not offended you. I hug her and say, Masha, I just had a terrible nightmare, and it's still bothering me. But I think I have some information that might help in finding Ben. It's just a hunch, but I think he's traveling with Stacy Summers. She gives me an interesting smile and says, Jennifer, you have just confirmed some information I was able to discover. But we will discuss this more after you find Liz's plane. I answer, Masha, I sure as heck don't know how you found this out, but I wish you had been working with us earlier. Won't it be fun to have 2 other women to speak with in your native language? Jack hugs me and says, Yince, you'd better sit down. There's something else you need to know. Present, Linus, Private Airport, Washington, D.C. Yince, Masha and Jack are standing around the coffee pot as I walk up. I hear Jack say, Yince, you'd better sit down. There's something else you need to know. Yince interrupts, Jack, listen. I'm not some child that you need to mollycoddle. If there's something you need to tell me, just tell me. I clear my throat and remind her, Yince, you must have forgotten about your teenage episodes? She turns, takes one look at me and says, Linus, from the looks on your face, we need to talk later, in private. And no, I haven't forgotten about them, but I also feel they are mostly behind me because I now know they've been a huge hindrance to finding Ben. Shit. I forgot that women can figure out almost everything with very little information. I'm sure that Yince knows that Maria and I were bumping nasties, and now she's going to give me a ration over it. Jack clears his throat and proceeds. If you 2 are done, I need to tell you that Liz called and Myra's sister Ira sacrificed her life so the plane could take off. Yince looks at Jack and says, Jack, there must be more to this story. So tell me everything you know. Present, Maria, MASH airplane, Washington, D.C. I keep working on Tom's leg, but he just complains. Just slap a Band-Aid on this and I will be fine. I glare at him and say, like hell you will. Now shut up and let me finish. He whines, listen, princess. I've had my fill of him and this princess crap, so I deck him and he goes out like a light. It's much faster working on things without his constant bitching. I'm almost done when Byron walks in and asks, what's going on with Tom? I laugh. I got tired of his constant complaining. Then he called me princess, so I decked his butt. Byron chuckles. I told Tom that someday he was going to meet his match, and I would say that someday came today. I finish with Tom's leg, start to clean up and ask, do you know how Todd and Hammer are doing? Byron responds, they're almost finished with both of them. The doctors said that you're responsible for saving both their lives. I ask, if you would keep Tom here until the doctors check him, I would appreciate it. I'm headed to the main building to see if I can help out. Liz Morgan's plane went down in the ocean off New York. After he pauses to reflect on the bad news, Byron quickly returns to the moment and laughs. I will do my best, but Tom pretty much does whatever he wants to do. I threaten, tell him if he doesn't stay here until the doctors release him, I'll kick his butt again. I hear Byron laughing as I head out the exit. Present Byron, MASH airplane, Washington, D.C. I should get over to the main building to see if I can help. Liz Morgan has been a constant help to us, and if we lost her, it would be a terrible loss. But Maria asked me, no more like ordered me, to keep an eye on Tom, and I sure as hell don't want to incur her wrath. Besides, things should be interesting when Tom wakes up. The doctor that worked on Hammer walks in and I ask, how's Hammer doing? He answers, he should make it if there are no complications. I was looking for that young lady to thank her again. I tell him, she's gone to the main building. Liz Morgan's plane ditched in the ocean off New York. But since you're here, she asked if you would take a look at the work she did on Tom's leg. He responds, sure, but why's he unconscious? I laugh. I guess he smart-mouthed Maria and she decked him. He laughs, starts looking at Tom's leg and says, she's a hell of a medic. She did as good a job on his leg as I could have, and now all I need to do is dress it. When did your team pick her up? I shake my head and explain, she hasn't formally joined our team yet. I think she and Linus have some sort of relationship, and she just sort of tagged along when we called him. He says, well, if you guys don't grab her, we sure as hell will. By the way, with Liz Morgan's plane going down, we'd better stay here just in case anyone needs medical care. I answer, thanks, but I don't even know if there are any survivors. The doctor checks Tom's face and laughs. He's going to have one hell of a black eye. I think I'll get an ice bag for it. I laugh and ask, well, if it's not going to cause any medical problems, I'd just as soon let the black eye run its course. Tom has deserved a good but kicking from a woman for a long time, and this might be a good reminder to him not to annoy them. The doctor laughs. No, the ice bag isn't a medical necessity. Tom starts to wake up. Present, Tom, MASH airplane, Washington, D.C. Damn. I feel like my head was hit by a ton of bricks. What the hell happened? I open my eyes, see Byron grinning at me, then I remember. That bitch landed a lucky punch when I wasn't expecting it and knocked me out. She's going to pay for that one. I gripe. Byron, what are you grinning about? You look like the cat that swallowed the canary. He laughs but doesn't really answer me. Did you have a good nap, Tom? I yell, I don't know what's so funny. Maria was so rough when she worked on my leg. I passed out. How are you, Todd and Hammer, doing? Byron answers, well, as you can see, I'm in a cast for the next 6 weeks or so, and then I will need rehab for a month or two. Both Todd and Hammer are out of surgery, and unless there are complications, they should be fine. By the way, both doctors said Maria is responsible for saving their lives. I ignore the comment about the bitch and say, now help me up so we can head to the main building and see if they found Liz yet. He helps me up and says, you must have hit your face when you passed out because you have a hell of a black eye. I stop, look in the mirror and see he's right. Yep, she's going to pay for what she did to me, but I'm going to have to be as sneaky about my retribution as she was about landing the punch that knocked me out. We hobble towards the main building and Byron asks, so is Maria joining the team? I almost say hell no, but then I get a great idea and say, you know, we could use someone to bring us our coffee, cook for us and clean up after us. Byron shakes his head and begins, Tom, present, Yints, private airport, Washington, D.C. Jack, Masha and I step over to the side and Jack says, Yints, I think it's time you know the whole story behind the twins. I've been trying to meet with you and tell you for days, but you've either been gone or crazy or both. I say, listen, Jack, I'm tired of you scolding me. You're not my dad, so cut it out and just tell me what you need to say. He amazes me when he starts, Yints, I know Mira from years ago when Ben and I were at a spy school. I think for a moment, suddenly realize something and burst out, shit, Jack. Don't tell me she's the young bitch that was trying to assault Ben the whole time you guys were there. I knew I should have shot her, but when I had the chance. Masha interrupts me. Jennifer, that would not have been a wise course of action. Her twin sister Ira would have hunted you down and made you suffer an extremely unpleasant death. Jack asks, Masha, how do you know Mira and Ira? She smiles at us and says, those twins are legends in all of the Eastern European countries. Everyone respects and avoids them whenever possible. I question him again. Jack, is Mira that bitch that tried to assault my Ben? I watched as he swallowed and said, Yints, Yes, she is, but it's a bit worse than that. She actually fell in love with Ben. I start getting upset, then Jack continues. But Yince, even though she tried every trick in the book and even created a few of her own, she and Ben never did it. That seems strange to me, so I demand. Jack, are you sure about this? Why didn't he? Jack answers, you know, the spy school was right after Anna and I broke up and, well, Anna had a long talk with Ben about women and he acted differently after that. I remembered my Ben did act differently right about that time, and I always wondered what happened. Someday I need to find Anna and see what the heck she said to Ben, and probably thank the heck out of her. I ask, do you think Mira is still in love with my Ben? Masha again interrupts, Jennifer, I do not think it will make any difference. She has a new brother to take care of, and her sister is dead. Her thoughts will not be on Ben. I respond, well, I'll kick her, but if she tries to take Ben away from me, I already have problems enough with that Stacy Summers bitch. Jack brilliantly says, hey Yince, that gives me an idea. Why don't we join forces with her parents? Present, Masha, private airport, Washington, D.C. I almost made a tactical error in my conversations with Jennifer and my husband. And as Jack would say, I almost released the Korska, cat, out of the bag. I have taken great pains so that no one knows that I worked for the Tajik government with the twins. I must be more careful in my following conversations. Present, Maria, private airport, Washington, D.C. I hump my butt to the main building, open the door and can see everyone's here including Linus. I sidle up close to him, and he smiles at me. Yince sees us, smiles and says, Maria, I need to talk to you in private. She grabs my arm, and we head off to the corner. She grins at me and asks, okay Maria, I want to know everything. And I gladly tell her everything. Most men don't realize that women tell their best friends everything right down to the sizes. Yes, there are no secrets between members of the sisterhood. When I'm done, she grins widely and says, you're the dog. I hope he's just not a fling and that you plan on keeping him. I smile and promise Yince, he's the best damn man I've met in a long time, and I'll do almost anything in the world short of a three-way to keep him. I don't do three-ways because I don't share my man with anyone. She laughs and replies, that's the same way I feel about Ben. By the way, I had a dream about him marrying that Stacy Summers bitch he's traveling with. I can see she's upset, so I ask, what the hell did you do about it? She giggles, I killed him at the altar, and then got in a huge fight with the skanky little bitch. I question, Jens, you wouldn't really do that, would you? She pauses for a bit and then replies, Maria, I'm not really sure what I would do if that happened. I respond, well then we just need to find him before that happens. I worry about my princess boss. Then a suit comes in the room and announces, everyone please gather. We have some information on Elizabeth Morgan's flight. We all rush to hear the news. Present Ben, Oplan. So far the Oplan is going perfectly. As she hits the standoff, she has the perfect intonation in her voice. The banditos turn on all the lights. It upsets me when they fire at her. She ran immediately and they chase her. So the Oplan is still working? But that's the thing about Oplans. They never work exactly as planned. I watch Stacy like a hawk as she's leading the banditos right into my hasty ambush. She's almost to the side trail and then, oh hell no. She falls to the ground and doesn't move. Shit. I don't know if one of their shots hit her, or what the hell has happened. I yell, shit Bo. Come on. We need to save Stacy. I sling my rifles over my shoulders, grab onto Bo's mane with both hands, and the next thing I know he's up and I'm on his back. He takes off like his tail is on fire, and I can barely hold on. When we reach Stacy, he turns up the road and I yell, fill your hands you sons of a bitch. I pat Bo on the neck and say, Bo, you're a damn fine horse and it's up to you to keep me on your back. I let go of his mane, pull both my rifles around and start firing short bursts at the approaching banditos. One of the many things we practice at sniper school is firing at moving vehicles and also firing from moving vehicles. Some vehicles, like a bouncing Humvee or a chopper, don't make good weapons platforms. But Bo is a different damn story. Firing from his back is like firing from a Cadillac, so I'm putting a major hurt on the banditos. Even firing offhand, 3 are already down and the others decide to turn tail and run. But they aren't getting away that easy. Bo and I chase them down and kill all the scumsuckers. Now to see what the hell is wrong with Stacy. Present, Stacy, Oplan. I wake up just as Ben and Bo fly past me. I can't believe it and start to laugh. Especially when I hear Ben yell, fill your hands you sons of a bitch. Because that's almost the exact quote Rooster Cogburn used in True Grit. Bo reminded me immediately of John Wayne's horse, so that's why I gave him the name Bo, and now Ben's even acting like Rooster. I pull my AK around to help Ben, but he's kicking there but's just fine by himself, and I'm a little worried I might accidentally shoot him or Bo, so I just watch. The battle is over faster than I thought it would be, and then Ben turns Bo back towards me. slowly trots up and says, "Stacy, are you okay?" I respond, "Ben, you reminded me of John Wayne in True Grit. Where did you learn to ride like that?" He reaches down and pats Bo. Bo nickers and Ben laughs. "Yeah, I guess you're right. It was sort of like that scene where he charged Ned and his gang, except this time Bo didn't get shot. But don't praise me for the riding, since Bo did all the hard work, keeping me on his back and not getting scared by the rifle shots. He's a hell of a horse. Now what the hell happened to you?" I blush and guess at the cause, Ben. "I'm sorry, but I fainted. I think it was from Dorothy taking too much blood for me, but I feel much better now." I hear Patches whinny and I add, "It looks like Patches is worried about me. Let me go tell her I'm okay." "So what are we doing next?" Ben replies, "Stacy, even though we took care of all the banditos, we still need to clear the house. Let Patches know you're fine, then I will give you some instruction on what we're going to do. Just so you know, this could be even more dangerous than what we just did." I start to stroke Patches and Knacker. I still hate that name, and worry a little about clearing the house. Present Ben, regrouping. Damn it. Stacy fainting scared the hell out of me. If Dorothy was here, I'd kick her, but for taking too much of Stacy's blood and giving it to me. That's one of the problems with medical people. They think they know everything and then they become overconfident and screw up. Unlike my profession, when they screw up, they only kill the patient, not themselves. As I watch her taking care of Patches and Knacker, I realize she's pretty damn good for a kid, and that I'd miss the hell out of her if she was anywhere else. She looks at me and suggests, "Ben, it's getting dark and I'd like to find some place to look at your leg and then rest." I respond, "Okay, Stacy, let me get off Bo and we'll go over the basics of clearing a house." Again, Bo kneels so I can get off him. Then I reach up and scratch him, and he nuzzles me. As I walk towards Stacy, I decide I like this horse better than most women I've met. Stacy grins at me and offers, "A penny for your thoughts." I smile and say, "I was just thinking how much better Bo is than a woman. First, even though he's a horse, he's not a nag. Second, he does what he's told without complaining. Third, I can ride him all day and he doesn't get tired. And fourth, he's not jealous of other horses." Stacy bristles and argues, "What the hell are you talking about? First, I have never nagged you. Well, at least not when you didn't deserve it. Second, I've done all the crazy stuff you've asked me to do without complaining. Third, you've never ridden me, so you don't have any idea. And fourth, and the biggest of all, I guarantee Bo would be jealous of not just any other horse. He'd even be jealous of me." Present, Stacy, regrouping. OMG, did I just blurt out what I thought I did? I run it over in my mind, realize what I said about Ben riding me, and blush like crazy. I sure am glad it's getting dark and Ben can't see me. Ben says, "Stacy, sometimes you're full of shit. There's no way Bo would be jealous." I'm happy he ignored the riding comment as I accept his challenge and dare him. "Oh yeah, why don't you just come over here, scratch Patches or Knacker, and see what happens?" He walks over to Knacker, begins to scratch him, and Bo runs over right away and pushes Ben away from Knacker with his head. I giggle and say, "Watch this." I walk over and start to touch Ben, and Bo rushes right between us and pushes me out of the way. I triumphantly say, "See, I told you so. Now I think you owe me an apology." I can hear the laughter in his voice when he says, "Stacy, I apologize. Yes, it does seem Bo is jealous just like a woman. However, at least he doesn't remind me when he's right and I'm wrong. I can't believe him. Sometimes he's so frustrating. I get ready to let him have it when he gets back to the matter at hand. "Okay, Stacy, I think we've waited long enough, and now it's time to go clear the house. Tell me, have you been SLLSing? If so, what have you heard?" I look down because I've been distracted and forgotten all about SLLSing. I answer, "Sorry, Ben, I was distracted." He continues, Present Ben, regrouping. "I know you were Stacy, and you should know it's a common mistake to let your guard down after a battle. But mistakes like that will get you killed. Now SLLS and let me know what you observe." I can tell she's upset, but I know she won't ever forget this lesson. I watch her SLLS. She looks up and says, "Ben, even though it's too dark to see anything, I think that someone turned off one of the lights in the house because I think they were all on when we first walked up here. I also think I hear someone softly calling from the house. I still can't really smell anything other than the horses because they really need to be groomed." I touch her shoulder, but Bo gets a little upset, so I take my hand away and say, "Stacy, that's an excellent job. You were right. One of the lights is off in the house. It could be someone turned it off, or it could be one of my shots hit it. And there is at least one person in the house. They may be injured because they are calling for help." I continue, "Okay, Stacy, we are going to clear the house. This is called UC or urban combat, and it's the most dangerous type of combat we will ever face. We are going into an enclosed space without knowing who is in there or what the interior looks like. First, we will approach the house and I will use my periscope to recon the room through the window or open doorway. Once I'm sure of the layout of the room, I will pie the doorway, This means I will stand at the side of the door and slowly move until I can see the entire side of the room away from me, sort of like how you cut a pie into slices. Then if it's clear, I will use the periscope and pie the back and the other side of the room. Once I'm sure the corners of the room are clear, I will enter the room, double-check to make sure the corners are clear, and then move to what's called the point of domination of the room. It will be the corner that gives me the best view of all the entrances to the room. Do you have any questions so far? She says, if you're doing all this, then what the heck is my job? I appreciate how aggressive she is, so I chuckle and explain. You have one main job, and that's covering my 6 so I can concentrate on the targets in front of me. I want you right behind me, facing in the opposite direction, except when I enter the room. You will stand against the wall just outside the room, and then quickly move into the room when I call it clear. Remember this. Doorways are always funnels of death, so never stay in a doorway longer than necessary, and also never stick the barrel of your rifle around any corner. You see this all the time on TV shows, and all it does is just give away your position. While we're talking about rifle handling, remember to keep your rifle pointed level, but never let it point at me. Do you have any more questions? She asks, how will I know which corner you will choose for the point of domination? I answer, Stacy, I'm proud as hell of you because that's an excellent question. I will use hand signals to let you know. One more thing, once you enter the room, don't turn your back on the doorway or the room. Instead, slowly back towards me. And if I say drop, that means to hit the floor. Now it's time for a weapons check, and then we'll roll. Present, Stacy, clearing the house. I'm nervous and I ask, Ben, before the weapons check, how about you let me have a bathroom break? Ben chuckles softly. Yeah, it's better to take care of that now than in the middle of an op. You go first, and I'll cover you. Then it's my turn. I move behind a bush, briefly wondering what I'd do if I ever needed a break in the middle of a mission. Something to ask Ben later. Once I'm done, I step back out, and Ben hands me a wet wipe. Where did this come from? I ask. He replies, I always keep some in the top of my pack. You have some in yours too, but you probably forgot. I really need to figure out what gear is essential and keep it at the top of my pack. I clean my hands and Ben says, okay, keep watch because it's my turn. Ben heads towards the bushes, and Bo tries to follow him. He pats Bo, hands me his lead and says, Bo, it's okay, I'll be right back. Stacy, please keep him from following me. As I'm SLLSing while Ben is gone, I do hear some new noises coming from the house and the horse's ears perk up. Ben walks up and I mention, Ben, did you hear the noises from the house? I couldn't make out what they are. He says, great job, Stacy. I did hear them and I think someone is dragging something around in the house. Plus the calls for help have stopped. It's time to go see what the hell is going on in the house. We're going to do bounding overwatch again to reach the house. I know out here, it's too dark for you to see my hand signals, so I will flash once with my red flashlight when I'm ready for you to move to my position. Make sure once I relocate, you keep checking behind us. I question, what about the horses? Ben answers, shit. I've never had to do this with horses before. With my leg, it would be nice to have them closer to the house in case we needed to bug out. Do you have any ideas? I say, I think Bo's going to follow you whatever we do. So how about we let him do that until we reach the tree close to the house? Then we will tie him to that. And I'll bring Patches and Knacker with me. Ben questions, won't Bo just pull himself loose from the tree? I answer, not if you tie him properly and pat him a couple times. Ben says, present, Ben, clearing the house. Okay, weapons check, and then let's roll. I had already performed a tactical reload of both rifles. Never leave a place you have cleared or a battle with a partially loaded weapon. Right after killing the last bandito, I pull the mag out of the M4, wrap the back of it against a tree twice to make sure the rounds were where they are supposed to be in the mag, and perform a sport, an acronym used for making sure your rifle is ready for action. 1. S. Slap gently upward on the magazine to ensure it's fully seated and the magazine follower is not jammed. 2. P. Pull the charging handle fully to the rear. 3. O. Observe the ejection of a live round or expended cartridge. 4. R. Release the charging handle, never ride it forward. 5. T. Tap the forward assist assembly to ensure bolt closure, usually multiple times. 6. S. Not done here. Squeeze the trigger and try to fire the rifle. I then do a similar procedure for the AK. I've done it so many times it's now automatic and only takes about 5 seconds at the most for both rifles. I sport while I watch Stacy do the same. She does it correctly, but more slowly, looks at me and says, "Wow, you look like a robot when you did that." I answer, "You did a great job and will get better with practice." "Are you ready?" She says, "Not quite yet." Then surprises the hell out of me and upsets Bo by giving me a big hug. She pulls away and says, "That was for luck." I head off towards the first good cover and can't believe what Bo does. Present, Stacy, clearing the house. Ben starts to move and Bo moves with him, almost like he's shielding Ben from the house. It surprises me, and I think it startles Ben at first. It's so dark that soon all I can see is Bo's outline against the lights of the house. ISLLS, finally see the flash from Ben's light and start to move towards where I saw the light, leading Patches and Knacker. It proves to be a huge pain in the rear and takes me way too long to reach our first position. I kneel beside Ben and whisper, "I'm leaving Patches and Knacker here." Ben replies, "Good idea, you were exposed for too long getting here. If we need to bug out, we can both ride on Bo." I tie up my horses. Ben whispers, "After the next move, you should be able to see my hand signals." He moves out and again. Bo is with him as ISLLS. I see the flashlight and this time make good time getting up to him. He whispers, "That was much better. We're leaving Bo here because he's so big he's giving away my location." I whisper a response, "Well, he's not going to be happy about this, so you'd better give him some love and I will tie him up." Ben loves on Bo and whispers, "Bo, I have to leave you here, so be a good horse." I tie up Bo and watch as his ears go back just a little. Yeah, he's not happy at all about this. Ben says, "Okay, the next stop before the house in the big tree where we were going to tie the horses. You will hold there until I safely recon the house." He moves out. Bo yanks his head but can't get loose and stamps a foot. I scratch him and say, "Bo, Ben's going to be fine." I hear Patches and Knacker making some noise behind me and wonder what the heck is going on. Bo turns, looks back at them, somehow yanks his lead loose from the tree and takes off towards them. I need to go and see what's going on. As I get ready to move, the next thing I know, Ben's right beside me and whispers, "Stacy, someone's behind us and is after Patches and Knacker. You stay here in SLLS while I go and take care of them." Ben takes off right as we hear someone screaming bloody murder. Present Ben, clearing the house. Shit. Someone is after the horses and whomever it is, the horses sure don't like it. Patches and Knacker both started making a hell of a racket, and then Bo takes off towards them like his tail's on fire. I pause by Stacy, tell her what I'm doing, and take off to get the scumsucker when I hear him start screaming like he's being murdered. I get there and I sure understand why. Bo has grabbed the scumsucker's shoulder in his mouth and is shaking the hell out of him like a dog shakes a ragdoll. Damn, that has to hurt like hell. I run up as Bo drops the scumsucker. He no sooner hits the ground when the up until now docile Knacker comes over and stomps the shit out of the bandito. I know better than to get in the middle of this fight. It doesn't take long and the bandito is dead. Shit. I've been slapped by women, bit by women, and even kicked by women, but nothing comes close to what these horses did to the bandito. If hell hath no fury like that of a woman scorned, then the devil has no anger like that of a pissed-off horse. It makes me wonder about Ms. Donaldson. I wonder if she's as pissed off at me as the horses were at the bandito. At least she can't bite me like Bo bit the bandito or kick me like Knacker did after all. What's the worst she can do to me? Shoot me? Bo comes over and nuzzles me. I scratch him, tell him he's a good horse, then gunfire erupts from the house. I yell, "Bo, stay the hell here and keep the other horses safe." I run toward the house to save Stacy. Present, Stacy, clearing the house. Two of the scumsucker banditos come out of the house, stand on the front porch and start talking about their amigo catching our horses. Then they decide to help. I try to assess what Ben would do. They move towards the front of the porch and I decide to fire on them. I really wish I used my pistol, because I don't really have the hang of this AK yet, and I only hit one of them in the leg. They both return fire, and the one I totally missed drags the wounded bandito back into the house. Now they are firing like crazy at everything. Ben runs up beside me and asks, "What the hell happened?" I tell him and he says, "Good job, Stacy, but we need to work on your rifle skills. If you feel more comfortable with your pistol, then feel free to use it." I want to say thanks a lot for just telling me that now, but I don't. Instead, I pull out my pistol and just say, "Thanks. What's going on with the horses?" Ben answers, "Well, Bo and Knacker took care of the bandito, and it wasn't a pretty sight. I left Bo with Patches and Knacker and told him to take care of them." I ask, "Did you tie them back up?" Ben angrily remarks, "Hell no. I forgot about it." I turn and look, but I don't see the horses and say, "Well, I'm not sure where the horses went, but they aren't there anymore." Ben says, "We'll worry about them later. First, we need to take care of this foobard mess." I count 4 distinct guns being fired, so we probably have at least 4 banditos still in the house. "Stacy, you stay here and keep drawing their fire. Because we have more ammo, use your rifle unless you're sure of the shot, then use your pistol. I'm going to work my way around back and see if I can slip in the back of the house. If they all charge out of the house, yell and run like hell." Ben leaves and I continue to fire at the house, but the banditos just stick their rifles out the windows and fire wildly. The gunfire slows, and as one looks around the corner of the door, I snatch my pistol and shoot him twice in the chest. He falls in the doorway and the others start shooting again. I wait until someone tries to drag him out of the doorway. I fire and almost hit his arm, but he yanks it back inside and they keep firing. Present bin, clearing the house. I'm happy as hell we didn't just try to clear the house. With at least 4 banditos in the house, it would have been difficult, and the odds of one of us getting wounded would have been high. Stacy is doing a hell of a job keeping them busy. I recognize when she fires her pistol and hope she hits someone with it. Damn. Sometimes she reminds me of me because I'm better with a pistol than a rifle, but I realize that in most cases nothing beats the superior firepower of a rifle. I start to slip around behind the house and I discover where the hell the horses went. They are all 3 behind the house. Knacker and Patches are over by what looks to be a barn. Bo carefully walks up to me and blocks my path. I push on him and whisper, "Bo, get the hell out of my way." But he pushes back and even moves me onto the path. Not where I want to be. I'd rather be in the bushes because the path is another funnel of death. Then even over the stench of Bo, I smell the sick smell of a rotting corpse and wonder what the hell is going on. I chance quickly flipping on my tactical light and see a corpse in the bushes close to where I was standing. He's a bandito, and it looks like his legs were blown all to hell. Shit. Then it hits me. There must be some sort of IEDs around here, and Bo just saved me from the same fate. But where the hell are they? I didn't see any trip wires at all. I flip on my light again, scan the ground and see some weird-looking craters in the ground near the corpse, but still no trip wires. Hell, there are certainly IEDs, but what the hell the triggers are I don't know. So the path in this case must be safe. I scratch Bo, knowing he saved my butt, and whisper, "Okay, Bo, I understand. I'll stay on the path." I drop to the ground and crawl towards the back porch. I hear a scream. Stacy's pistol fires a few more times and wonder if she shot someone else. I reach the back porch, crawling past 3 more rotting banditos, and see what killed them. The whole back door frame, and even part of the wall are gone from a healthy-sized explosion. Who the hell, and what the hell did the guy do that owned this ranch? Whatever he was and did, he gave them a hell of a fight before the scumsuckers killed him. I carefully check the porch just in case there are any more IEDs that they missed. The lights are on, so that makes it an easy job. I stand and pie the utility room. No one is hiding, so I slip inside. I see a commemorative wall clock, and I know right away what the hell he did and have a good idea how he did it. Thank God the banditos cleared out the house before we arrived. Present, Stacy, clearing the house. I decide that using the scumsucker bandito in the doorway as target practice is a good way to get better with my AK. I remember what Ben told me about how I was yanking the trigger, probably because the trigger is really hard to pull. So I start practicing squeezing it. At first I'm not doing any better. Then, I hit the guy in his foot. When he screams, someone tries to grab him, and I hit the scumsucker bandito in the arm with a pistol shot. They go crazy with their firing, and I try to make myself smaller as I hide behind the tree. They slow up and I start firing again. I sure am getting better with this AK. So soon I will be A-OK. And I sure hope Ben's A-OK. Present Ben, clearing the house. Having the rear of the house breached might have been a stroke of luck. There's only one door leading from the utility room into the house, and if this is like most American ranch houses, that door will lead me into the kitchen. I slip up to the door, pie the room with my periscope, and see it is the kitchen and is also empty. There are 2 doorways leading out of the kitchen. One to the side, which must lead to the bedrooms, and one to the front, which must lead to the dining living room. From the firing, it sounds like they are all in the living room. A big tactical mistake, but not nearly as big a mistake as not covering their 6. I could try to take out all 4 of them, but there's a good chance I might get shot in the process, so what I need is a hasty ambush and a diversion to get them to come into my ambush. I continue to pie the kitchen with my periscope, come up with an op-plan, grab some supplies out of the utility room cabinet, and slip into the kitchen. Present, Stacy, clearing the house. The bolt locks back on my rifle, and I need to change magazines. I fumble for a new one, tap it twice on the back, insert it into the rifle, drop the bolt, and then there's an explosion in the house. It scares me, and I accidentally fire into the ground about 10 feet in front of me. The ground erupts where my bullets hit, and scares me even more. What the frack just happened? The firing in the house briefly stops. The banditos begin to yell, and then there's a bunch more firing, but none of it's towards me. What the frack is going on? Present Ben, clearing the house. I figure out the prefect diversion to get all the banditos into the kitchen. I head over to the microwave oven, open the door, and put all the shit I found in the utility room cabinet inside. I'm not even sure what half of it is. I know there were jars of paint thinner and other toxic-smelling shit, fingernail polish remover, jars full of nuts and bolts, and I hit the jackpot with the black powder. I closed the door, duct taped the hell out of it, set the timer for like an hour, then slipped down the hallway and wait. It doesn't take 10 minutes and the microwave bomb blows the hell out of the kitchen, flinging nuts and bolts everywhere. Some damn near hit me, so perhaps they weren't such a good idea, but it has the desired effect. As the banditos fly into the kitchen, and I open fire on the 3 of them, take them out, but ask myself, where the hell is the 4th one? I slip up to the living room doorway, pie the room with my periscope, and see the scumsucker in the doorway. I yell to Stacy, "Foxtrot, but stay where you are and don't move. There are IED, improvised bombs everywhere." I glad when she yells back, "Uniform. I will stay put, but there's a wounded bandito in the doorway, so be careful." I reply, "I will take care of him and make sure the rest of the house is clear. You just make sure to stay exactly where you are. I've seen what the IEDs can do to a man. Also make sure you continue to SLLS and keep checking your 6." She yells back, "Well, hurry up, I need to pee." I laugh and think to myself, typical woman, they always seem to need to pee. One more reason that Bo's better than a woman. I dispatched the bandito in the doorway and noticed Stacy had nailed him twice, once in the upper body and then blew his foot off. It was a calculated risk to take out the banditos in the living room before clearing the rest of the house, but I figure if there is anyone alive in the rest of the house, they would be in the living room helping with the fight. Still, I am very careful as I start to clear the rest of the house. Present, Stacy, clearing the house. Shoot, I really need to pee. When the ground exploded in front of me, it almost scared the pee out of me. At least now I know what it was, some sort of bomb, and I'm not moving from this place until Ben comes and gets me, not even if I have to pee in my pants. I hear a single shot and see the guy in the doorway stop moving. A bit later I hear another shot and wonder what's going on. Then a few minutes later I hear yet one more shot. I worry about Ben and yell, "Uniform." Ben yells back, "Foxtrot. The house is now clear and I'm coming to get you." I watch as he walks out the front door and then down the sidewalk until he's adjacent to me. Then he bends down, shines his light along the ground and says, "If you walk right where my light is, I think you will be fine." I complain, "You don't sound too sure about this." He says, "Well, I can't figure out what these IEDs are and what triggers them." I point and answer, "Well, I accidentally shot the ground up there and it exploded. Maybe that will help." I decide I can't wait, so I take a chance and follow his light to the sidewalk and say, "Turn the other way, I'm going to pee." Ben walks over, starts looking at the ground where I shot. I drop my pants and start to pee. Present Ben, clearing the house. I finally see the IEDs and they are ingenious. I jump up and yell, then I hear Stacy start complaining, "Ben, you'd better not have done that on purpose." I look over. Her pants are still down and she's fallen right in her puddle. I begin to laugh and she says, "Haha, that was really funny. And what are you looking at anyway?" I turn away and apologize, "Sorry, Stacy, I didn't mean to scare you. It's just that I finally figured out what the IEDs are, but I still don't know about the trigger. Come here and let me show you." She walks over. I shine my light on the ground where she shot and explain, "Look at the wood that's there." She does and says, "Yeah, it's got a bunch of holes in it and some red things in the holes." I reply, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure those are 12-gauge shotgun shells. Something must set those off if you step on them. Then they blow the hell out of your foot and legs." I found many more banditos in the bedrooms who had foot and leg wounds consistent with this IED. Just so you know, the guy that owned this house was a first cav sapper, so there are probably bombs just like this all over the place. She asks, "Okay, what's a first cav sapper?" I say, "First, let's get the hell out of the open and into the house, then I will explain everything to you." She asks, "What about our gear at the ORP?" Since someone scared me, I now need to change my pants. We head into the house and I say, "First, even though I cleared the house, we're still going in like it wasn't cleared. And second, this house was beautiful at one time, but between my bomb and the banditos, I'm not even sure we want to sleep here tonight." Present, Stacy, clearing the house. We move into the house as Ben had taught me. Once we're sure it's clear again, we collect all the weapons. I announce, "Not sleeping here is the biggest understatement you've ever made. This house looks like it hosted a spring break party and lost. Now will you finally answer all my questions?" The kitchen is the worst of all. I'm not sure what the heck happened in here, but there isn't even a chair left to sit in, so we sit on the floor and Ben begins, "Let's see. A first cav sapper is a combat engineer who belongs to the 1st Cavalry Division. They specialize in working with explosives. That's why there are so many IEDs around here." I ask, "An IED is some sort of special bomb?" Ben says, "IED stands for improvised explosive device. It's a bomb that's made out of whatever you find. Sort of like what I did in the kitchen to get the banditos' attention." I look around me and laugh. "Well, if this is the way you cook, remind me to never let you in our kitchen." He gripes, "Hey, I'm an excellent cook, but my microwave bomb ended up being a little bigger than I planned." I laugh. If it had been any bigger, I think you would have destroyed the whole house. After seeing this place, I do think you're right. I don't want to sleep in here tonight, but I do want our gear from the ORP, so I guess we're going to have to hike back and get it. Ben says, the horses are hiding behind the house near something that looks like a barn. Bo seems to know about the IEDs. He actually saved me from getting hit by one. So, I think we should get the horses, head back to the ORP, and while I don't like leaving the house empty tonight, I think we should sleep there. I reply, I just want to change into dry clothes, check your leg, and get some rest. I'm exhausted. We safely reclaim the horses. Bo nickers loudly when he sees Ben. We ride back to the ORP. Riding in wet clothes is incredibly uncomfortable. Once there, I step away to clean up and change, then return to check Ben's leg. It's healing well. I change the dressing, and he administers another antibiotic injection. We settle into our sleeping bags next to each other. Even though I'm tired, the adrenaline from my first battle keeps me awake. I ask, shouldn't someone stand watch? Ben says, I'm pretty sure Bo will wake us if he hears anything. Now let's go to sleep. I yawn and say, I bet you're right. Boy, am I tired. Do battles tire you out? Ben replies, fighting battles will do that to you. Tomorrow we need to go back to the house. I want to bury the people that own the house, burn the bandito corpses, see what triggers those IEDs, and also figure out if there's anything of value in the house or barn. I bet there are saddles somewhere. Now let's get some sleep. I answer, you're probably right. Then I hear a low droning noise and ask, Ben, what's that noise? He answers, Stacy, that's the wind in the trees. Now go to sleep. It changes, becomes more melodic, and sounds like an elephant in heat. I figure out it's some sort of weird instrument playing a song and ask, Ben, that's not wind in the trees. So what the heck is it? Ben sits upright in his sleeping bag. I do the same and he says, well, if I'm not mistaken, that's a didgeridoo. The Aborigines play those in Australia. I question, I didn't know people could play real music on a didgeridoo, and I think I've heard that song before. Ben replies, the guy playing it is really good. And if you ever watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, you heard the song. It was written by Richard Strauss and is called Also sprach Zarathustra. I reply, German for thus spake Zarathustra. Then I worry and say, do you think we're in any danger from whoever is playing? Ben laughs and says, I don't know of many Mexicans that play the didgeridoo, so I think we're fine. Besides, low notes like those would carry for many miles on a night like tonight. I would guess they are at least 10 miles away. Now let's get some sleep. I yawn, roll over, scooch my back against Ben's back, and drift off to the waning sounds of Thus Spake Zarathustra, and have weird Stanley Kubrick sort of dreams. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.